Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Kenna Bear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Playing Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever's in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Thanks, Rayleigh. Did anybody figure out what I think it was Brian was referring to when he was talking about Ruhif talking to David Weiss? Is that a video we should be covering?
G plus.
A bit vague. Dank, come again.
Morning G plus.
It's in G plus.
I said good morning G plus.
Oh. Neil, you're up.
Hello.
Hello.
But they was on Dave Weiss and Ruhif. They was on Space Audit's YouTube channel. That's where they're getting that from. I can look it up and send you a link in Discord if you want.
Yeah, I think there was some suggestion that we covered it, but I was under the impression that it was been sent to me as chaff so that I didn't cover Sabine Hosselenfelder because QE was covering it on his live stream yesterday. So I just went straight to QE's Skype messages to me thinking I'll pick up the video from there, and it wasn't.
I don't think we should give them any more airtime.
Who's they?
I agree.
Who's they?
The backstabbing people.
Yeah, Dave Weiss and Ruhif.
Who are who?
Dave Weiss.
David Scheiss. Hold on. Mo, Larry, and Scurvy. You know who they are. Scheiss, Shitsit, and freaking Dizzy Dave. No, I got him already. Fearing.
Okay, what do you want to cover today? I'm just, chit-chatting about what you want to cover. Well, there you go.
I'm sure somebody will come up with a video. Where's Mighty Mush? She's been on it lately.
Not here.
Still a little early. Give
That's
people
right.
some time.
That's all good.
So you didn't think that was a good comparison that I did yesterday, Nathan?
Comparison of what?
When I was saying that, just like we say, the stars don't obey our geometry, how do we know that gas pressure could be different in the upper areas of the sky than where they are here?
No. It's. I said it at the time. It's non sequitur, but someone else pointed out that it was. What's the argument? I've forgotten the fallacy now.
To appeal to the future or appeal to...
It's special
What did
pleading.
they say? I know.
It's special
Special
pleading.
pleading, yes.
Yeah, it's special pleading because you're saying, well, the way gas behaves on Earth is, and then you describe the second law of thermodynamics, and then you say, but if I go outside of Earth and look back on Earth, then gas doesn't behave that way on Earth because it doesn't disperse into the area I'm looking back at it from. It just makes no sense.
But it doesn't make sense that the stars don't obey our geometry on Earth here, does it?
But it's not being used to make a positive claim in that regard. You know, how we utilise the stars with elevation angles is a derivation of things like latitude. So it matters not that you can't do something else with that methodology. It's like, well, okay, well, I can't get elevation angles to give me heights of stars. So what?
I was just drawing a comparison that, you know, it's not
still
the same as it is on Earth.
Yeah, but it's non sequitur. You're saying, well, the stars don't behave in this
Yeah, I
way
know.
when we measure their what? Elevation angles from a flat baseline? Well, okay, but we do derive systems from that very process and use it to this day, and the globe has come from that and all the rest of it.
What's up, Refracted? The guy that put the whole argument to rest and made the shows boring.
What are you talking about? I'm really pleased that it's less stressful. I mean, people asking me for what my golden bullet is or what my silver bullet is and all this sort of garbage, and then John comes along, gives you one. You're like, you're gonna moan at him. You're a
Nah, I'm only
pioneer when
hacking
you went
on
and
you.
talked to Ruhif and you're getting moaned at for it. Unreal. When you went on McToons, that was pioneering. What you were doing, the actual process that you were undertaking, John, pioneering. Now, oh, you made the show boring. Could have kept the argument going by not pointing out Earth's measured flat.
Not the show. Let me rephrase. Not the show. But when, you know, and when we get into the Uncut and after show, it's like a little slow. That's all.
No, just everybody buggered off yesterday, that was all. Me, I kept it going because I was playing a game and I couldn't be bothered to stop the live stream. I'm like, the silence. We're 4 hours into a stream at this point. Might win.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. You're playing games. That's what it is.
If you say so. I want something pretty to be going on while we're having these discussions, that's all. So most of the time I'll play till I die and then spectate so that there's just something pretty and going, something on screen, especially if there's points of silence, because if there's nothing going on screen and there's a point of silence, you suddenly go to your iPad going, is this broken? You know what I mean? At least if you get there, you see something's happening on screen, you go, oh, right, okay, fair enough. Same goes for the beginning parts, right? There's people just joining. I think it's especially important because, you know, there's justifiable long protracted silences. This is the pre-show. You know, it's getting everyone warmed up. We're just chit-chatting, right? But there's going to be silences. Just if in one of those silences someone goes, oh, it's nice and quiet now, I'll take this as my opportunity to bark garbage about balls. Then, you know, it's nice that you are recording at that moment, even if you have had 20 minutes of protracted silences, you know, punctuated with protracted silences prior to it.
I gotcha. When you think about this Hassenpfeffer lady, I was thinking about that. There's a reason why they're coming out with these videos. I think it's somewhat damage control, and they're trying to poison the well further because it's very troubling to them.
Yeah, standard. That's standard fare, though. Actually, Neil. I mean, you're just ascribing the standard fare to her. I don't know why she wouldn't have anything different applicable because of her stature, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, but it's a little more. It feels to me that there's a little more urgency in it on their part.
Yeah, they're losing sleep over it. They've got some urgency because they're worried about it.
That's correct. And I see it with my son. That's why I was getting a little annoyed with Eli last week, but I understood what he was trying to say. But I see it in my son, the urgency and the way it's weighing on him heavily because he knows. And when you know something that you don't want to be correct, but it is correct, it begins to weigh on you.
Yeah. I mean, that's not our problem anymore, though, is it, really? We're not here to counsel people. You know, we've spent years and years worrying about their concerns because they've just found out it's flat and then having to answer their questions and concerns because they've just found out and want to deny it. Like, I'm not concerned with this anymore. Thanks to John that you're moaning about earlier. It's not just thanks to John. Thanks recently in terms of having a silver bullet. Obviously, there's a long road that led to that.
He just made us aware of it. It was in front of our face the whole time. Jeez. Go listen to some old shows.
But it
Like,
takes
what the
him
heck? Why
going
don't
on
we
someone
pick
else.
up on it right there?
Takes him going on someone else's show with the confidence to show it in action to start a foundation for people to go, yeah, this needs paying attention to. Could have just easily been dismissed. John went out on a limb. Not saying much. He's obviously busy.
Oh no, I was just thinking. I was trying to think of the line from the Matrix that Oracle to Neo about being the one. When you know it,
Balls to bones.
you know it through and through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what?
Points at something in Latin above the door and says, it means know thyself. Yeah. You lose sleep as a flat earther when you first get here and you believe the earth's flat, but you haven't got that silver bullet to prove it with. So you concern yourself when they say, I can prove a globe with this. Oh, let's figure out how we can undo that. Those days are gone for us now, aren't they?
Well, yeah, because like when you measure something, you know that's what it is. If I measure a 2x4 to be 12 foot long, I'm not going to have someone come up to me later and tell me I just measured a ball with any argument they make. There is no argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the argument's
That's
over,
just,
which is good. That's what I wanted in the proof that I would hold up and offer to others and put my stamp on, is the ability to sort of relax after the fact and go, well, I know now then, don't I?
Hey, John, remember the line, measure twice, cut once?
No, that's wrong.
yes.
Measure once, convert to ball. Measure from the centre of said ball. What's wrong with you? Don't you know the saying?
But I'm saying it's measured twice, cut once, but the earth has been measured how many times? And they still cut it in half to get their flat surface? Oh, dear.
Yeah.
I remember when Penn first started bringing the information to us and then he brought it out the angle somehow. I had one guy say to me, yeah, we can't get it from there, so that's why we go to the center of the earth, because we can't get it from the surface. So we do all our calculations and everything from the center. What's wrong with that?
because you're taking a measurement. We just didn't know it back then. If you're taking a measurement and
Right.
claiming that the calculations for a ball work at the center with the measurement, well, what's the measurement of? A flat plane. And that flat plane must be in place in the center of a protractor we'll call a ball Earth for it to work, because it's on a flat plane. It doesn't work on the surface of a ball, is what he's actually saying. We just never spotted it until 10th pointed it out.
Right.
They need a flat Earth more than we do,
I
right,
fought
John?
that information. Yeah, I fought that information the hardest, I think. I argued with him every day for almost a year about the information and how I was trying to misinterpret it.
Yeah. Wasn't going to mention this, but 10th and I were actually discussing that about 2 or 3 days ago, John. I wasn't going to bring that up, but there we go.
Nice. But that strengthened it.
Yeah, when it finally clicked, it clicked, you know. But, you know, by then we had such a razor's edge to it. I guess my
Now,
leather broke.
when he started talking about the circles of equal altitude and then plotting another star, and then if you get 3 of them to get you get your fix, all of that's flat. I was like, whoa! That's a lot of flat.
Yeah.
Sorry about the
A
belt.
lot of measured flat.
Yeah, and I think that's why Johnny gets so frustrated sometimes, because it's right there. How are you not seeing it? Sometimes he goes, I don't understand how they're not seeing it.
Because that's a step down in the process. The ballers can't even introduce themselves into the first step of the process with just getting an angle. We're not going to, you know, their argument is gone there. And that, funny enough, that's what they base all their arguments on. They just whistle past that part, you know.
Okay, I got this angle. Wait a second. Where did you get that angle from? That one guy said, yes, I can. What's it called? Nathan said, what's it called? He said, angles to a sphere.
Yeah, I never got around to trimming that out.
What do you mean? That's some of your best work there.
Yeah. Happening a lot recently. You know what I mean? We're getting more and more stuff like that. I can prove the Earth's a ball. All right, you can prove the ground's ball shaped. Yeah. Seismology. All right, okay. What, with measurements of a flat plane? Oh, it's not the ground we're measuring. What? We're getting stuff like that all the time.
Listen to that in itself. I can prove Earth is a sphere. Seismology. Oh, it's not the ground. I thought you were just going to prove the ground was spherical.
It's the only place you got to go if you got to believe. Because refraction ain't going to cut it on this one. You know what I mean? 7/6R. Nobody's going to get confused. Like, what are you talking about, refraction? Talking about the ground, not what we see. You know, inside the ground, not what we see. What are you saying refraction for? You know, it's not going to, that dog ain't going to hunt if you're talking about seismology or elevation angles.
Yeah, we went round in circles with that guy about 16 times.
Yeah, he kept insisting he was right. What was you saying? I'm not talking about the horizontal. I'm talking about the vertical.
Yeah, various stuff like that. But they always appeal to some imaginary tangent plane that isn't the ground. And you're like, so you do need a flat Earth to make this work, but in your example, it's not the ground. Well, yeah, it is the ground. We're measuring the ground. It's just not the globe ground anymore. And when we point that out, you're like, well, no, it's a hypothetical imaginary ground. And what the bloody hell are you talking about? We're navigating the bloody ground. It's just not your globe ground anymore. Shut up. No, you don't understand. And then they'll insert words you've not said, infuriating me greatly. Well, you're saying blah, 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 insert words Nathan didn't say here.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can now. We didn't a second ago.
I'm in the airport. I'm just waiting for board. I've just sent you a video, Nate. It's nothing to do with. Well, actually, I've just watched it. It's quite interesting in terms of analysis of data and how people will lie to themselves and change the narrative to maintain their paradigm. But it's on one of my favourite topics, fluoridation of teeth. It's only a 5-minute video. I wanted you to watch it just for you and the family. Fantastic proof that's finally coming out. Again, confirming I'm not a tinfoil hat man. But an interesting way how they approach it and deal with what they call science.
Okay, you don't want me queuing it up to play in the show?
Well, I'm not going to be here to go through it. So there's no point. It's
Okay.
interesting. You might want to watch him first, and then maybe you might have some comments to make. It's only 5 minutes, and it's just the data. It's just a pile of data that's just showing studies, meta-analysis and stuff. But it's interesting how, particularly towards the end, how the mainstream will now deal with this change of what they would call scientific fact. And even though it's now scientific fact by their definition, maybe it's best not to mention it to people so we don't alarm them. Because we wouldn't want people being alarmed that there's fluoride in the water. Now there's clinical proof it's a neurotoxin that degenerates your IQ. So let's just not mention it at all. So there are a number of analogies to flat Earth in terms of evidence, and when contradictory evidence to the current position occurs, best to just keep quiet and not actually deal with that evidence. There's a little analogy, but just for you to have a look at. Maybe I'm back free tomorrow afternoon. It might be worth. Like I say, it's only 5 minutes, but on top of the data dealing, there's a nice message in there for people as well in terms of their own habits.
Okay, you're a little bit vague. I could just about make out 80% of what you said because your line's a bit crappy. But yeah, if you do toddle along back later, I've got it queued up. If you do want to cover it on the show, as long as it's suitable, obviously, I'm sure it probably is.
It's totally suitable, but maybe tomorrow afternoon, if that's because I'm literally about to board the plane and you'll probably.
Oh, okay, that's why. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Cool.
Okie dokie.
He's still alive. Did he make it through the night?
I haven't had a message from him. I don't know if he's got internet or what's happened.
Fingers crossed. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'm about to board, so I will see you on the other side. Have a good show.
Okay. Did someone else say they got a video they wanted me to cover? Divergent droid. No? Was there someone who mentioned something about a video they wanted to cover? Mush? Clearly not.
Hello. I'm here. Good morning, Nathan. Good morning, everyone. No, man, sorry, I didn't research any videos, but I do have a clip from the Seinfeld came out with the new movie, Unfrosted. It's about the Pop-Tarts, Kellogg's cereal. And
Yeah, I've seen it.
I've been seeing it. You've seen it? So
Yeah.
have you seen the... Okay. You've seen the part about the moon, right? And the moon
There's
landing?
lots of bits about the moon. I did discuss it on the beginning of one of the live shows last week. Yes, I've seen it. Unfrosted.
Yep. And there's another series we're watching. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Palm Royale with Kristen Wiig. And in one of the episodes, she goes in a space simulator. And the whole clip is like about a minute long, but it just seems like a lot of space mocking. You familiar with that show, Palm Royale?
No, sorry.
It's a comedy. I'll watch it with my wife. Like, we watch a couple episodes. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of space mockery in these TV shows and movies.
If you've got a clip that we can play, I'm happy to play it because I've seen it. I can waffle on about it for the whole live show.
Yeah, okay. I did record it last night. My wife was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I have to record this." Just give me a couple of seconds. I'll put it in Master B.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think the astronauts are in simulators. I can't believe they would be outright lying like that.
How do you get someone into a simulator without them knowing they got into a simulator again?
I agree, Neil. MK Ultra. Yeah, probably
Why?
for
You don't think you
many
can go
weeks.
on
I
something
agree.
and you
Totally
think
agree,
you're
Neil.
really there?
Yeah, we totally agree. Probably cover it again
No,
next
that
week
means you
sometime.
can't hear me.
You roboted. Yeah, you roboted now. I think it's probably the most simple answer, and the most simple answer is they were part of a religion. They thought they were going to do one thing, they end up having to do another, and now they have to deal with the shame of what their religious belief has forced them to do.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You don't think they could replicate someone taking off from the ground and them not thinking that they're actually taking off and going somewhere?
It's your answer to an appeal to motive fallacy and justification for how they couldn't be lying. Who cares? The sky is not a vacuum. That's where they're claiming to go. That automatically makes them liars. Now, if you want to try and come up with stories of, simulations that they were led down paths into that they were unaware, no, just not buying it, Neil. Don't care.
You know
I'm not
what?
buying it.
That's true. I never thought of it that way. That's right. The sky's not a vacuum, so automatically you're lying because you can't be deceived now. If you know the sky's a vacuum, then you're willfully going into it, no matter how it's being done. And then to come up and stand at the pulpit of a church in New York City and claim that you were one of the last men to orbit the moon. I don't know, man.
Right, liars are liars, Neil. You've got this standard that, he's a Christian and he's in a church, therefore, to violate the holiest of holies. No. He's just a liar, and that's his narrative. In that instance, he was in a church to punt his lie narrative. Just another day at the office, though. For you, it's the biggest of deals because it's a Christian lying in a church.
Yeah, because I couldn't stand up at the pulpit and lie. I would not do that.
Now you've reverted to an appeal to motive that's directed at yourself. It doesn't matter that they're liars either. The area they claim to go to isn't real. The sky is not a vacuum. Whether or not they are aware of their lie, whether or not we know it's not true, and if you want to try and then from there forth try and justify why they would lie, how they've managed to do it if they're a Christian, I can't help you because it's irrelevant.
I know. I'm just saying. I couldn't do something like that. So to get up there, it takes a lot of freaking balls to do something like that. And you're calling a lot of people stupid. at the same time.
Everyone lies.
Because you're lying and you expect them to believe you.
Yeah, everyone lies. Everyone's a
That is
sinner.
true. Everyone
Okay,
does lie.
everyone don't lie.
Yeah.
But not everyone goes in front of a church and lies to the congregation.
Right,
That
as a
takes
part of a
special kind.
deception. Exactly, John. That's what I mean. You may lie about something, but this is a deception. That's evil.
Depends on your standards. You know, if your recruitment process is alleged to be discerning the best of the best of the best to travel into sky vacuums, but there isn't a sky vacuum, then what do you think the recruitment process is actually going to involve, Neil? Can this guy keep his mouth shut?
Yep. Psychological examinations of secret keeping, things like that.
Can this guy elevate himself to not only keeping his mouth shut, but bullshitting on our behalf? He's worth more to us. And this guy not
What
only
about the
elevate
guy
himself
that goes-
above the lies and keeping his mouth shut, can he lie to a religious group without batting an eyelid? He's worth a good amount of coin. That guy's a good guy for our lie. Pay him lots.
What about the guy they supposedly? I remember early in the flat Earth debates, not here, but I've heard that there was the one astronaut that knew that this was not going to work. They couldn't even get it.
Yeah,
You
Gus
know, in
Grissom.
the
So Gus Grissom's guy put the lemon on top of the lem. He absolutely wanted to and had aspirations of and concerns about the journey he was going to be taking to space. And he wanted good communication with the ground and really good equipment to be travelling in. And when he noticed that the equipment wasn't up to the standard of doing that for real, because he obviously, legitimately, genuinely believed he was going to do it. If he knew he wasn't, why would he be concerned about having good communication in a ship that's never going to anywhere in space? He wouldn't kick up a fuss. But if you think, I might die if this isn't working properly, this should work properly. We can't even communicate with the tower from here. How are we going to communicate from space? That was his argument. Because he's exasperated at the fact that he might die. Self-preservation's top on everyone's priority when you think you're going to go to a very dangerous place called space. Now that leads me to believe that Gus Grissom absolutely was convinced he was going to be doing this. He got the right stuff. Now he needs to express his concerns about his own safety, right? So, yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate for him that he ended up in a completely oxygen-rich environment when it was exposed to a spark in the wiring system, and he died of a horrible, flamey death. I mean, that's just one of those things, I suppose. You know, accidents happen. And ironic that he was so concerned about safety. But there we go. That's just one of those things.
wow. When you say it like that, it's like, wow. They whacked him.
I didn't say that.
I said it. They whacked him.
Look, the point wasn't that he may or may not have been whacked, as you put it. The point is that the narrative was believed by him. He behaved as though I would expect somebody who's going to go on a deep sea dive and they're looking at the submarine. They're going, this isn't good enough. What, you're telling me we can't communicate back to the surface? Well, that's garbage. Or, by a better comparison, you're telling me the bridge can't communicate with the engine room on this ship? How the hell are we supposed to be expected to communicate with the submarine if we can't even communicate between engine room and bridge? That was his argument, right? Well, if you know the submarine's just going to go into the hull rather than into the ocean and you're just going to pretend to go there, you're not going to be ranting and raving about the safety concerns because you know there aren't really any safety concerns to have, right?
So you're backing my argument that they don't know.
No, anybody who claims to have been to the sky vacuum knows they're lying. Anybody who wants or has aspirations of going to the sky vacuum there's no way they're lying. They absolutely believe that there is an area to go to. Like the Tim guy that thinks he's going to the moon. Is he a liar? No. He's got that genuine aspiration to get to that skyrocket in orbit.
Right, but the initial thing they were looking for in the astronauts was a patriot. That's why they chose from the military. They were looking for a patriot who they could manipulate, and that's why they put them through all these tests and standards and things, and let them believe that's what was going to happen, and then more than likely, and I'm just going off what probably happened, is when it was over, or when it was about to kick off, they just told them, we can't go right now, but we're in a race with the Russians. We need you to do this with us, and that's what happened.
Yeah, we're going to need you to fake it. You're going to take one for the team. We're going to get there eventually. Yeah, we're going to have to bullshit about it, but just be a team player on this one, okay? You're going to need to keep your trap shut most of all. And when it comes to the interviews, you tell them you went, you describe what you saw, keep your mouth shut. Everything will be great. You'll be a hero.
Yeah, you know how much that would weigh on you, though?
Yeah, we saw
you'd
it.
either be a
Yeah,
drunk.
I've seen Neil Armstrong in the aftermath. Yeah, I can see exactly how much it weighed on him. Or you could look at Buzz, the raging alcoholic.
Yeah, I'd say it would either eat at your soul or you become a raging alcoholic. It would tear you apart inside, especially because of the conflict of your patriotic, because remember, that's what they would be looking for, is a patriot, someone who thinks of the United States above themselves and puts their country above themselves. So it's almost impossible for them to tell the truth.
Yeah, you could feel sorrow for him, but outside of our argument, we've got all of the factors to describe what is categorically a lie from certain very limited individuals that claim to go to space. They are just liars. Now, that's unfortunate if you're the son of an astronaut who's been looked up to you through your childhood as being one of those men that goes to space. When someone like us comes along and says, your dad's lied to you, the public, the world, he's a liar. Now, that's unfortunate, but that's the case. Don't have to like it. And I'm sorry for your loss of dreams and fake realities that were propped up by your father who was a liar. That's not our problem. Hey, Brian.
Anything everyone is listening at the moment.
Okie dokie.
I'm back in the way.
That's one of the reasons I never sought out M. Scott Beach, is because that would hurt me if I had to know my dad was a liar. He's one of the people I could let him live in ignorance for the rest of his days, because it's just not fair to him what his father has done. That sin is carried by him.
I mean, I can go on my own relationships. My father's still alive. When I came across this subject, I wanted to discuss it with him and get his views on it. Right? Now, the joy that I had when I wanted to do that is very different to the disappointment that you would have if you were confronting your father about a potential lie. You sat down with him and went, is this actually all a great big lie? That's a horrible conversation. I shouldn't smile. That is a horrible conversation to be having, isn't it? I mean, I feel that disappointment for the space Lego I got from my folks, and they had no idea, right?
Yeah, but they weren't propping it up.
No, they didn't know
Is
any
there
better.
any evidence that M. Scott Beach's father is an astronaut? And even if he is, M. Scott Beach is a total liar. Maybe he's fully aware he's fair. I couldn't give a damn about the boy. He's a total liar.
I know.
I have no evidence that he's anything other than just some troll.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I remember making a thumbnail when we discussed it with him personally. And the thumbnail was him, his father, and an apple tree, as in the apple doesn't fall far from it.
Both lawyers. If he has a father, who is that thing? And if he doesn't, right, the point is that he's a lawyer. He knows he's lying. And he has to lie to even attempt to prop up that nonsense. So, you know, in debate, I'm not talking about what he says his father is, I'm talking about in debate. He also said he has a PhD. Do you believe he has a PhD?
You're asking the wrong person, right? I don't care. Doesn't make any difference. But if you're saying he's a liar because he's claiming he's got one and you don't think he has, then, I mean, fair enough, took that journey if you want.
I don't know. He doesn't behave like someone who has a PhD. And if he does have, it has to be in one of the pseudosciences because the guy gets so much, got so much stuff wrong over the years.
His family had enough money.
One more time.
Well, obviously, he would be in the pseudosciences for sure.
He'd be in what? For sure?
What?
A pseudoscience. He would have chosen one of the pseudoscience fields to do his PhD in.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, he could just be another pseudoscientist
Isn't it
PhD.
computer science or something like that that M. Scott Veitch has got his PhD in? I'm sure it's something like that. Like an outright blatant technology-based pseudoscience, if you're claiming it's a science.
Or it's a PhD in lying. You know what I mean?
Who cares? Yeah, we know M. Scott Veitch is a liar. As was his father. He's one of the few people we can actually label by name in that regard. I mean, any astronaut, insert astronaut that claims he's been to space here. I listened back to yesterday's show.
It would be hard for me to take in there.
Sorry, go on.
It would be hard for me to accept information that would make my dad such a grievous liar, right? And that's really what it's about, is just accepting the information. It's not about agree, disagree. It's whether you accept the information or not, you know? It just is what it is.
Nathan,
I think he can't. I was just going to say, I don't think he can do that because he holds his father as a higher authority than us in both the secular society and in his family, his personal life.
Well, Nathan, how do you know his father is a lawyer?
Because he said he went to space.
His father didn't say that to you.
M. Scott Veitch, his father, is claimed to have been to space and has declared it to the world. So, what do you want?
And you know it's his father. How can you verify who M. Scott Veitch is there?
Well, you took in this string.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll smile because when anyone highlights my poor primary source research, which is what this is, right? You're saying, have you actually validated that this guy, some dude, is actually legitimately the son of an astronaut? Liar. No, I've not done that actually. So, you know, frog in my throat. No, I don't. The numpties that come, based on the fact that I said 3 times I don't care, would be the same standard that applied when he was here. That is to say, I don't care if you are or aren't. Your arguments will stand and be assessed. That's what we do here. You know, in terms of me tearing into and going, no, astronauts are liars, I didn't say, and if, as you claim, your father is said astronaut, claimed to have been to space, then he is a liar. I didn't put those disclaimers in, Brian. So technically, you've got me over a barrel on this one because I haven't, you know, but based on his own standard, he's claiming it. So if you're saying, well, that doesn't apply to him because he was lying, well, all bets are off in that case. So I have no guilt. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is that, like, some lawyer has been claiming for years that his father's is a retired astronaut or whatever nonsense. And this guy, nobody ever validated. The same guy's claiming to have a PhD in something. No one ever validated any of this. Not that I care what his father is or does or doesn't do or did or didn't do or what PhD he does or doesn't have. I'm just saying that people are just pre-assuming that this known lawyer, right, that these things are true about him. Why? I could never understand that when it came to him. You know, like, why? What has he validated? Nothing.
I see.
It's just some faceless person on that I've never seen his face.
I got
I'm
you.
not saying he
Well,
is,
when I
but,
say
you know,
all bets are off, if it's proven, and he has been proven demonstrably to lie frequently in debate, why would we accept his invalid or unvalidated, or whatever the word is, yet to be validated credentials that he entered the arena with? Why would you still accept them? Because what, he wasn't a proven liar when he first claimed them? Yeah, I get your point.
I'm just saying everyone talks about the guy as if what he said was definitely true. It's like he's never validated any of this. He's just said things, and people went, "Yeah." No, it's like you could have just said that from the start, and he continues to say it, and he knows that he's telling us a load of lies, and maybe people on his own side know he's telling us a load of lies because they got off on that. Remember, the lawyer has contempt for those they lie to, and they hate us already. And if they think they can fool us by telling us lies and make themselves feel smarter by getting us to believe their lies, and then have contempt for us, what they already have, that makes them feel better. It makes them feel like they're smart and we're not, when all they actually are is liars. You know what I mean? That's what we're dealing with. People who want to have a reason to have contempt for you. And by lying and make it free, and for them to believe that you're stupid. And if Scott Speech can make people believe that his father is an astronaut, right, and it's just a big lie, then that makes him feel good about himself. That's the only reason it would matter. I don't care what he says his father is. I'm just saying that's the only reason it would matter, down to that. Because we just deal with a load of liars. That's what we deal with. Let's be honest.
I think you said the other day, actually, the amount of comment trolls when you first came to this subject that suddenly were PhDs and astronauts and things like that. I would know. I'm a scientist, says random commenter with a stupid, crazy name. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd know. Like, if they haven't got anybody in the comments to immediately appeal to in terms of a scientific validity they could offer to an argument they haven't even offered, they'll just appeal to themselves as the authority. You know, I'll stand as the invalidated, or whatever, I can't think of what the right word I'm looking for there is, yet to be validated authority.
Accredited or something.
Yeah, appeal to my own accreditation. It's like, you haven't got any of this accreditation, but you're more than willing to just immediately lie in the comments that you have, because it's easier to make your point quicker.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you have. I've dealt with that a load of times. People trying to pretend to be things and then trying to basically give you, like, you know what I mean, tell you that you're wrong because they are such and such a person. And you ask them to validate it, they disappear. Do you know what I mean? I told you, like, the example the other day was within 2 days of being in this arena, a guy on YouTube tried to tell me he was an astronaut. That's what you're dealing with.
Yeah, navigators.
Yeah,
I've been a navigator for years. I'd know. I'm sorry, faceless nobody on YouTube.
Navigator.
I'm a pilot. I've been flying for years. Says random faceless troll on YouTube.
but everyone's a liar. It's at some level, you know. But are they lying when they tell you that Earth's a sphere? No, they're not. You know how I know that?
Because you said it.
Yeah, I said the same thing, and I thought I was right.
Hello.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning. Good to have you all. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
What would you accept as evidence?
A demonstration of gas not pressing on something but maintaining pressure? As absurd as that sounds.
Well, I wouldn't accept anything as evidence. It can't happen.
Get lost then. What are you doing here?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't accept anything as evidence because it can't happen. It's not possible.
No,
so I'm not even going to go into the realms of what might happen or someone could present. No, they can't.
Yeah, what if you could violate a principle of gas? What if I could? You're not going to. It's an antecedent consequent relationship. That is, to have pressure, you've got to press on something. If you don't, you're just expanding into whatever volume you've got until you do. Well, pressure is, by definition, the force exerted on the walls of the container. That's a NASA definition of gas pressure. So, yeah, appealing to people's ideas of defying this principle is silly. I completely agree. And the way I had to phrase it was also silly. give me gas pressure not pressing on something. It's just silly. But that is also the heliocentric world. You've literally got gas in a sphere shape, not expanding into a sky vacuum, defying the second law of thermodynamics, entropic dispersion in this instance. That's not a reality we can exist in. The reason I bring it up is because yesterday we covered the Locust Eaters podcast on whether or not the moon landing was fake, and for the most part they just appealed to the feast of nonsense garbage that leaves you in the idea that you have a sky vacuum. However, in my opinion, the reason they're discussing it is because it is very prevalent in mainstream media currently that it's to be mocked. The moon landings are to be considered a joke, or you're being softened up at the very least to accepting the idea that what they punted as being the moon landings aren't as you are led to believe. So yesterday we covered it from the perspective of somebody discussing it in their logical analysis of whether or not it may or may not be true on a balance of probability. But today we're going to have a bit more fun, so we're actually going to look at something that's come from the mainstream we were discussing, and this got brought up a couple of days ago because my wife watched it. So there's a movie called Unfrosted, and the movie's got a little trimmed out clip that's been courtesy of Mighty Mush. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to only play it a few seconds at a time for obvious reasons, but once we've got the clip out of the way, with lots of interjection so I don't get a copyright strike, definitely commenting on it, we're going to discuss it for the show because it sort of is a launching point for a discussion about various different media outlets and how they're portraying the moon landing currently. And, ice walls and all, maybe we'll get to that in this, but let's get a bit of the clip and hopefully it'll generate a bit of discussion. We'll see. As I say, we have discussed this before.
You don't really think you're actually going to the moon, do you? Really? Going to the moon?
Yeah, the guy in character is associated with Kellogg's. So what they're looking for is to invent Pop-Tarts. And what she's there for from NASA is as a consultant, and she's hired other consultants from various other places, including a character described like Werner von Braun.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's good enough. Then she drives off in a moonlander, which Mr. Kellogg's power slided into the set, which also had a fake moon landing going on in it. And there's been lots of that. In the last 10 years, I must have seen at least 20 references where they do things like this, where they've got sets with moon landing stuff. It doesn't matter if it's music videos, TV shows, mainstream movies. There's loads of people mocking the moon. In fact, they have been doing it since the 70s with things like James Bond. But, it's been ramping up more and more and more ever since. It's far less subtle these days. Anyway, that was the clip. That's from a movie called Frosted, which is currently on Netflix. Like I say, I happened to watch it because my wife stuck it on. It was the front page movie of Netflix when you first turn it on. So I'm assuming there's going to be a reasonable amount of people, at least in the British audience, that have turned on their Netflix in the last week and gone, oh, I'll just watch that. It's the first thing offered. And it's got that funny fat girl in it. So, yeah, I'm hoping a few people in the audience, or at least in the panel, have watched this. Other than you, obviously Mighty Mush has watched it. Anybody else caught this Unfrosted movie about Kellogg's?
Well, what's the purpose of it? Why are we watching it?
Because they're mocking the moon landing. So part of the plot is that you've got a whole load of NASA consultants coming to Kellogg's assistance with all the expertise of NASA, where they're pureeing food to help men go to space and that sort of thing. The reason we're discussing it is because there's a certain level of relinquishment of this narrative in the mainstream media. This is an example of it. Now, I will at some point segue us onto the fact that the Werner von Braun character is very much discussing the fact that he's not actually associated with space and he's going to Argentina, and there's just certain aspects of it that are very much alluding to the space hoax with some of the characters that are in it. Is that answering your question, Brian?
Well, it's also a comedy, is it not?
Say again.
I was just asking, this is a comedy, correct?
Yes.
Well, then it's reinforcing the brainwashing, because only somebody who's a comedian or a joke would say something like that. It's reinforcing the brainwashing. It's not making fun of the moon landing. It's making fun of people who claim the moon landing didn't happen.
I realise that at a level that they want to portray in the narrative of comedy. However, at a very surface level, without reading between any lines or looking for subcontext, she's just mocking the moon landings. And she's directly asked if she thinks they're going to happen as a NASA employee, and her answer is no in the narrative. You can say it's comedy, we can apologise for it. But as I say, that happens more and more often in recent times. We get more and more examples of similar things.
Well, because that is brainwashing, though. That is a way to reinforce brainwashing within those who have been brainwashed. It's a trigger now for anybody that's watched that when they hear someone say the earth is flat, for them to immediately shut their brain off and think of you as that fat girl.
So you're saying people who are watching it are normies would associate it as the funny, bubbly ex-NASA employee making Pop-Tarts as the ludicrous idea that they weren't going to get to the moon because I know better, we did. Is that what you're saying it reinforces?
Well, it reinforces. They know it's a comedy when they're watching it. They're not suspending their disbelief about that. They're laughing.
Okay.
They're turning that person into a joke. It's clever brainwashing, but it's brainwashing.
I have to say, Nathan, that yesterday's when I listened last night to yesterday's show, I was buckled over with laughing because those guys were really, really trying to make it real, and that's what was so good about it. I don't know if a comedy will be as good. You were hilarious. I was trying to get my friend to listen to you. You were so funny. Just not for the content, even just because you were so funny. Because these guys were trying their best with mental hoops, jumping through mental hoops to try and get something to be real, coming up with nonsense reasons why it might be. It just showed, like, I much prefer videos where you have people really actually being serious. Now, I don't know what this is going to be, this comedy thing, but I prefer ones that we review where someone's dead set and serious, trying to make something real when it's not. Because that brings out the best in you.
And they were serious.
Well, that's what the example I gave with Katie Holmes or whatever, with that pharmaceutical endeavour to diagnose people on the spot with just one little drop of blood. Well, that was my example. It's like once you get to the point that you understand it's a fraud and the product doesn't really exist, you don't have to go around explaining why she's gone to the effort of doing X, or why she's behaved like Y, or why she's had ABC consultancy. None of it makes any difference to the fact that it's a fraud. Yeah? So if tomorrow the world woke up to the fact that NASA aren't going to a sky vacuum, like everybody appreciated it, yeah, you wouldn't suddenly expect the majority to be saying, well, why did they drop their keys when they're in orbit? There wasn't ever an orbit. They were lying about it. Yeah, but when they were floating around, right? They were still floating around. But why would the keys not be affected by the gravitational field? No, you're not getting it, are you? No. There was no pharmaceutical drug to diagnose you. Yeah? Her saying that it can do it in 30 seconds to that group of 1,000 people and then having dinner and giving a quick demonstration. You know, why did she have the guy come from the audience to do the demonstration? No, she gave it to somebody behind her back. They shuffled off and put it through a whole load of machinery that took through about 2 or 3 attempts to get the correct outcome. And 25 minutes later, with a bit of stalling from her, she gave you the result. It was all just a smoke and mirror show. But if you're still under the misapprehension that there is actually a wonder diagnosis drug from this fraudster that's been prosecuted, then you haven't got your brain wired correctly. So you've got to keep people who are going to come across the endeavour to potentially debunk it with loads of red herrings to chase after. Well, why would she have the consultants? Well, you can ask all those questions when you don't know it's a fraud. When you still believe there is a wonder diagnosis. When you don't know it, it's reasonable to ask those questions to somebody who's claiming to debunk her. Well, I've seen the demonstrations. There's hundreds of videoed examples where she just takes a drop of blood and gives the diagnosis on the spot. It's processed immediately. It's amazing. You're like, yeah, but it's an edit. It took 20 minutes in reality. Well, yeah, they're running a show. In other words, you get into the apologetics from the person who wants to believe it. The second you know it's a fraud, all bets are off. And that's the position we find ourselves in while we're dealing with a load of jokers that are questioning whether or not the photography from the original moon landing and its quality is stack upable as a debunking when there's better quality footage from number 15 and 16 missions. You're like, oh, God. None of it's real. They're not in a sky vacuum. That's it. Once you know that, that's it. You don't have to question their motivations. They had to fake it on high wire because they weren't in a sky vacuum. I thought yesterday's show was excellent.
28 weeks later was a bigger film than 28 days later because there was more money. And they had, do you know what I mean, improved on the processes. It's such nonsense. But I like responding to people who genuinely do believe stuff when we know it's a complete load of rubbish. I like that.
I don't like that. I know that's where we very much differ.
Because it brings out the best in you. You are the funniest at that point.
Yeah, because I can't stand doing it. I don't want to entertain their nonsense, right? That's probably what you're laughing at, right? My exasperation at their nonsense waffle.
Yeah, it's like when you end up with two options. You end up having to shout at the camera, right? Because they're annoyed. Literally, the video is making you annoyed. Or you turn that annoyance, that anger, into sarcasm. And it comes out as sarcasm. Like, anyone who listened to you in your show yesterday, going through that video, who is a moon believer, they'd have a moon landing believer, they'd have a serious problem not laughing along, and also they'd have a serious problem not becoming embarrassed. That's what they'd have. Because you put it apart using Narnia and how many 4 quotes. I've seen them go, there must be 30, maybe 44 quotes when 4 quotes went through the wardrobe. I mean, it's definitely real. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's their standard of evidence. You just point out what their standard of evidence is, and they don't realise how low it was. You know?
Yeah, well worth checking out. The majority of the good stuff was in the live show, which is fortunate for members of the public. But yeah, just yesterday's show, which was coincidentally show 2100. But that particular show, I just reviewed it this morning, as in I played it back on double speed and listened to the whole thing, along with the endless protracted silences in the after show because everyone buggered off. But the live show, definitely recommend. It's good. It's already had 1,000 views. So, you know, it tends to be the case that when it is a good show, it does actually get better views, which is good. Not that they're all fantastic shows. Obviously, this is just as good as every other show.
But you should have named it 2100 A Space Odyssey.
Why?
Sounds good.
Well, I want the videographer to give me exposure, don't I, Neil? So it was good at one point because who was it that super chatted? If I rack my brains, I'll remember who it was. Somebody who I trust in the moderation team. So super chatted to say, actually, I'm subscribed to this channel. They cover a lot of UK politics and are very good. You might want to actually subscribe to them. It's like, oh, that's good. Because, you know, on the one hand, they're completely outside of our wheelhouse and not in our subject, but they coincidentally covered moon landing, which is a tangent to our subject. And therefore, we've managed to critique them, hopefully in the nicest possible way. But by the sounds of Brian's critique, maybe not. There's a lot of, maybe the sarcasm won't go over, lowest form of wit and all. But either way, you'd hope they'd respond.
I loved it. That's why it had so many views. It was brilliant. It was hilarious. I was laughing. I was driving along and I laughed so much I pulled out over the line in the centre of the road, laughing.
It's like nostalgia because we haven't done that for a while. We don't normally attack it from that angle. So because we have attacked it from that angle for so many years and now are on a different vibe, you can kind of, I'm sure I said it in the show, this is nostalgic, and sort of subverted it onto, all right, we've got to go along for the ride with this stupid nonsense now. So we'll just transpose it into Narnia examples with, like you say, fur coats for spacesuits and wardrobes for Carmen lines and Turkish delight for moon rocks. You know, we got pallets of moon rocks. Well, yeah, we've got loads of Turkish delights. The White Witch just churns them out and gives them to you. We've brought them all back and tested them. They're just like the ones in Antarctica. It is such a farce when you listen to it, though. The whole story's garbage. When you break down heliocentrism, on the proviso that you know space is fake, it is utterly absurd. It's more absurd when you know that you can't actually reify it because the mathematics of it come from measurements of a flat plane. So that kind of busts your bubble. It really does sort of, I was going to say, twist your noodle, because you struggle to then... I struggled at the best of times to watch Hollywood movies that were about space. I struggled to reify it back then. In the last year or so, it's now impossible to, because you know that the measurements that create the model to put things into orbit is flat. So you're like, well, if the measurements are flat, then anything after that, calculation-wise, is nonsensical in terms of an appreciation of how your world physically presents itself, because it doesn't. The measurements to make that claim that you've got orbital motion, sphere, Earth, sky vacuum, relies on you measuring a flat world with gas pressure. It's like, this is so silly. How am I supposed to reify it? I can't even get into the fantasy. I'm so alienated. It's something I studied at Performing Arts School. So a guy who coincidentally used to direct and write a few scripts for Star Trek Next Generation was Stephen Burkoff. And he wrote a book about a process called alienation. Not in the context you might imagine, but in terms of alienating an audience from your narrative and how you want to keep your audience engaged with what you are portraying to them in an imaginary world. And there's a line that you can very easily cross that will push people away from what is essentially the suspension of disbelief. So feel free to read it. I can't remember the name of the title, but Stephen Burkoff's the author. He also appeared in a lot of those episodes. Tall, burly, bold guy. Anyway, Stephen Burkoff aside, I am now totally alienated from the story that we used to, collectively, believe in. Now, the fact that we suspended disbelief in terms of our own physical reality isn't relevant. That's a testament to the quality of brainwashing. But we were, factually, suspending disbelief about our reality. We haven't been to space, we haven't seen the Earth as a globe, we're told it's the case, we accept it as our reality. We are, in effect, suspending disbelief. But with so little ability to alienate ourselves from that which we are incorporating into our worldview, we can never step outside of it to look back in. Now we, the flat earthers, this panel, have stepped so far outside of that paradigm that, for me personally, I'm too alienated to conceptualise the idea, to argue from within it. That's probably what I find so detestable about what you do, Brian. Because it's too alien to comprehend for me now. I can't do it anymore. It's cognitively too difficult.
Yeah, but that's you, Nathan. I'd still say there's probably still 95% of the world that think this is all true.
Yeah, they're inside. They're not looking in.
To me.
Yeah, but they're not looking in. We're all looking in from the outside. So Brian can step inside that paradigm easily, and it doesn't faze him in the slightest. It's admirable, right? It's a failing on my part, is what I'm saying when I say I find it detestable what Brian does. That's a failing on my part. Because I am incapable of stepping back into a paradigm that requires you to measure the world as a flat plane to create the paradigm to step into. I can't do that anymore. It's just too difficult to conceptualize because it violates the principle of the world that actually unfolds before us. The flat world we're measuring.
But that's what I was saying the other day. And you were insisting that, oh no, you better know heliocentrism. Why?
Because then you can step... good question. Excellent question. Let me answer it. Excellent question. Because when you tread the path of understanding heliocentrism and the overcomes for the arguments, and then step into the understanding of why we have a heliocentric model in the first place, that is to say flat Earth measurements, you, upon doing so, have the ability to step outside of the paradigm and assess it from the outside. How does this work with the world that presents us? Well, if you have a good understanding of the measurements and a good understanding of what they claim, then you can put the two together to step outside of the paradigm and look in on heliocentrism without actually being on a bull when you do it. You can look at the model and assess it for how it's come to fruition, how the other people who do believe the world is that model have come to reify it into the model that you've got a good understanding of. Those are all cutting edge tools that we have offered here over the last however many years we've been doing the debate. We've sharpened up those tools. Now, it has to be disclaimed to an audience when I say, well, you can relinquish all of that. You don't need any of it if you understand how Earth's measured. That's correct if you're just going to go about your day and get on with your life. But if you're going to turn into some flat Earth evangelist, then you better damn well know every single rebuttal to all of their claims, because you'll have them put to you. And if you just know Earth's measured flat, and you can't see how an orbital motion that they're claiming is measured when they look at a telescope isn't actually anything more than an elevation angle measurement derivation from a flat Earth that you're actually standing on, because you know it, into their heliocentric motion as they describe it, because you understand it. You shouldn't be the person entering into debate. You should get on with your life knowing it's measured flat. That's why I say that you need to be on the cutting edge of these debates and understand how heliocentrism works, Neil. Because if you don't, you'll have your ass handed to you right quick by somebody who does understand heliocentrism, even though you fundamentally understand Earth's measured flat. They'll still get over your arguments. They'll undermine your confidence pretty quick too.
I disagree, because you're going to tell me something about that nonsense when I just demonstrated to you that beyond the shadow of a doubt it's flat. You're going to tell me about orbits now and planets and the moon and the stars and the sun and how we're moving. I just demonstrated to you that beyond the shadow of a doubt it's measured flat. We are on a flat Earth.
So you've got to be able to make that connection then. You've got to be able to, like you just did very loosely, make the connection between that measurement, in this case elevation angle of Polaris for latitude, to their claim of a globe. Therefore show them the origins in a flat Earth. But if you don't know how the globe system works for orbits, how are you going to show how those orbits came from flat Earth measurements if you don't understand how the orbits work? You're never going to make the connection. Even if you did just do it, you just blagged it. You heard me do it a few times and went, I've heard him say orbits need a flat Earth. Sod it, I'm just going to roll with it. I'll bluff. You need a flat Earth for those orbits. I'm nearly there, Neil. Bloody hell, I'm nearly there. Bloody hell, Neil, nearly there. Yeah, this is no excuse. I'm still talking. Yeah, so they gave you the orbital motion. You give them back you'll need a flat Earth because you're bluffing. And they say one word. Why? And you go,
No,
I don't know. I heard Nathan say it.
I won't give them orbits. Orbits don't exist any longer. Are you not getting me?
You're both off kilter. Go on, John, I'll go after you.
Yeah, Brian wants to undermine absolutely everyone, so if you can get in before, he can undermine you too, John.
I was saying, not you. You would not assert orbits. That is what they will assert. If you do not have the understanding of orbits, you're not going to be able to connect it.
Okay, on
But
a
if
flat
you
plane.
know,
Yeah.
right, if you know what you know that any argument against it must be fallacious.
Correct.
But knowing that it is fallacious and not being able to make the connection when you're actually discussing it is a fail. It's strictly speaking a neutral outcome if you can't make that connection for the person there and then. And I would suggest that you shouldn't be in the discussion if you didn't know how to do it.
Sorry. Same is true for you, Nathan. Because if someone just says, I know the Earth is measured flat, right? They just go along with that. And someone challenges it. They have to be able to detail the ways that the Earth is measured and how they can actually make the statement that the Earth is measured flat. Because with a statement that we went through already, technically doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But they have to be able to make it make sense. They have to be able to justify it. So no matter what you do, you have to have details.
I understand that to justify it and understand it, you're going to need more of as an audience member than me just saying Earth is measured flat. On screen now, you've got an altitude and azimuth measurement with respect to a flat plane. That's an angle off a flat plane to a star. Okay, there's your flat plane. Horizon detailed as the outside edge of this disk. That's what we're measuring. That's what we're navigating. That's how it works. That's how the globe came to fruition. Now, you'll need all of that information to be understood, which won't just necessarily be the case if you were a newbie in the audience right now. It wouldn't sink in. You'd have to either listen to it a few more times or listen to a few more shows until you did understand it. But after half a dozen shows of various different ways of this being explained with various different diagrams that basically show the same thing, you're going to get it. And you can go away confident that you understand how Earth's measured. Flat. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to translate. Oh my God.
No.
It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to translate that into a winning argument against a globe believer who tells you that orbital motions prove we're on a sphere. Haven't you got a telescope? Have you never looked at the sky?
And I
But
just
no, there's
demonstrated
something.
Earth is flat.
Just 1 second. No, if you're just bringing up the elevation angle argument to do the celestial body, then you're going to also have to know what dip correction is. You're going to also have to know about the corrections in the almanac and whether they refer to a horizontal plane or to a globe. You're going to have to know all these things. It's not going to be that simple. I know you want it to be simple. It won't be. And that's just one way of measuring.
Yeah, it is.
It's
just define an elevation angle.
It won't
Hold
be.
on, let me just let Brian get to the end. Hold on, I know me and John want to disagree. Just let Brian get to the end and then we'll disagree with him.
A horizontal plane.
I didn't hear that because I was trying to clear the airwaves for you.
If you don't know what dip correction is and how that works, how are you going to actually be able to prove or validate that you're measuring a horizontal plane?
Just by defining what an elevation angle is.
Being a horizontal plane, not just measuring a horizontal.
I got it twice now. Okay, I got it twice. Just by defining what an elevation angle is. It is that simple.
Hang on. Right. How is it that simple?
Because an elevation angle requires that you measure a flat plane.
Yeah, but you can make but the problem is that argument is going to go down in flames when someone doesn't know what they're talking about and some baller comes along and says,
yeah,
just hang a plumb bob.
Yeah, that's my bloody point.
Take a 90
that's
off.
my point.
Hang a plumb bob and take a 90 off that. If you don't know the dip correction part, if you don't know about those elements.
Yeah, I heard it Brian, please. I heard it 3 times. Yeah, I completely agree. Their argument, with a third party that's disagreeing, it will fall apart if they don't understand the intricacies of the argument that they shouldn't be having if they've just come here to find out what Earth is. No, go in peace. You know it's measured flat. You've understood some of it. Not fully, but enough after 6, 7, 8, 12 shows. You've watched your dozen shows. You know it's measured flat. Don't be that guy that goes out and thinks that you're capable of arguing with it. Because what are you going to do when they start telling you that they're measuring to a refracted horizon and you haven't got a clue what dip correction or angle correction full stop means, or what angle fundamentally means when they're bending the line? If you don't know any of that, you're never going to win the discussion. And as Brian points out, agreeing with me, you're going to have your argument fall apart real quick. This isn't addressed to Neil, because he's saying, oh, no. Once you've got the concept, you know Earth's measured flat. Once you've got that concept down, you can overcome anything. No, you can't overcome anything.
I said demonstrated flat. When you did everything that you all just said, that's what I'm talking about. Then they can't come back with anything. Heliocentrism is done. What are you going to tell me about after everything is laid out? Oh, what about the orbits? Oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? On a flat plane. Okay, have fun, my friend.
Yeah, Neil has a point.
Neil's right. Neil's right.
Neil has a point. If he goes through the whole process of showing someone how an elevation angle to a celestial body is measured with a marine sextant from a boat and goes through the dip correction and explains all that to the person, then the person says after that is only nonsense, right? But if you said a few minutes ago, Nathan, well, if you're a listener and you listen to 12 shows, whatever, and you just go, you know it's measured flat. How do you know that? How do you know that?
Just define an elevation angle. Just let me answer him. You just have to define what an elevation angle measurement is to understand it. That's it. It is very simple. If you just want to understand how Earth is flat, just go and look up what an elevation angle measurement is. It requires Earth to be flat, and we absolutely measure them and use them, and it's how the globe came to fruition. Now, you don't need that extra bit to know how an elevation angle measurement's defined and what it requires. It requires Earth to be a flat plane of reference. That's it. You get that from the definition of an elevation angle measurement, though. That's all you need. That's all you need. I could shut up shop tomorrow. I've proven Earth's flat. Go and look up what an elevation angle measurement is. They're definitely used. They're definitely put into practical application. They're definitely the basis of our mapping system. They're definitely the basis of your stupid globe belief. We've won. It's the end. We've won. Wow, how did we win? With defining an elevation angle measurement. That was it. That's all we needed.
I can make an elevation angle to the top of a building 500 meters away. That doesn't mean the whole Earth has a horizontal plane. I'd have to actually understand an elevation angle when it came to celestial navigation, for instance. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Right?
It's made a false statement. You want to continue on with it?
I didn't make a false statement. What's
Let him
wrong here
interrupt
is
you then. Let's just
what's
hear
wrong here is
Brian,
I'm
please.
taking it.
Oh, come on. We've been going really well till now. 3 people talking. Hello, got to be able to control you two. Brian, just let him object. It'll take 20 seconds and then you can jump back in. Rather than having
Object the ball, I hadn't finished.
Yeah, but he says you've made an incorrect statement. Let's just let him at least try and justify to you why you've made an incorrect statement rather than just rumpusing ensuing.
Right. The initial statement is I could make an elevation angle to something 500 yards away and it could still be a ball. No, that is incorrect because
in your
it is not an angle if your baseline is
just rumpusing in Brian.
Because he just said something that's not right. That's what.
It's not an angle if your baseline is curved. So no, you didn't just measure an elevation angle to something 500 yards away if you have a curved baseline. No, you didn't.
If I believe I'm on a globe and something is 500 meters away from me, that's half a kilometer. Right? The amount of curvature between me and the base of that thing is so minute that I can totally be fine with measuring an elevation angle to the top of that and not worrying about that little bit of curvature that is there.
You just ignored him.
I can get a good enough answer just off of that. My point being is that's not good enough.
You just ignored him.
I just ignored you.
I didn't ignore him.
Yeah,
I didn't ignore him.
It cannot be.
No,
you're giving apologetics after the fact for how little curve you can ignore.
I'm trying to make a point, but I'm not getting around to making it. And the reason I'm not is because
okay, fine, go ahead.
Because this is a delicate subject with you and John.
Oh, here we go. Ad hom to poison in the well. Go ahead, Brian.
That's what's going on.
I've got to clear the airwaves.
Brian,
Neil, stop. Neil, stop. Neil.
Brian.
Neil, stop. Brian's just poisoned the well. I've cleared the airwaves anyway. Go ahead, Brian.
As someone, for anybody, something 500 meters away is not far enough away for it to prove to me that the Earth is a horizontal plane. Now, if I learn about celestial navigation and the dip correction, that's the part. That is the killer. That is the be-all and end-all, right? If I learn about that and about the corrections in the almanac and the details that the globe have to come up with to try and make it, the globe people come up with to try and make it fit, that proves to me that the Earth has a horizontal baseline. Just something 500 meters away from me is not good enough. So just elevation angle is not good enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you ignored John. Matter of fact, that 500 yards or meters was measured flat. That's a matter of fact.
Yeah, and there's no flat surfaces on a sphere, so that's going to be hard.
Right, so your apologetics that it's not good enough because you can ignore and apologise for how little curve you're not accounting for. Yeah, that's not going to fly.
But that's what... Listen, that little tiny bit of curvature between me and something 500 meters away on a globe will be so small.
There's not an angle.
But exactly, it's not an angle measurement then, so it doesn't matter how much you apologise for how not comporting to the factual angle off a flat plane you are measuring, 500 metres or 5 metres. Doesn't matter. You could say, if I measure it as an angle that's got a 5 centimetre length to the baseline is still matter of fact flat. Doesn't matter if you take it to the micron. I don't care. It cannot comport with a sphere. And saying, well, if I do it over a 5 centimetre distance, there's so minuscule amount of... No. The apologies for how little curve there is won't comport with the straight line, ever. Under any circumstances, at any scale, at any distance. It factually is a flat Earth measurement, always, including at 500 metres. It's not good enough because there's so little curve to apologise for, you say. Okay, yeah. And I'm going to agree with you. Shit sandwich. But you are correct about dip correction. Suddenly, the example includes an expanse and a methodology because of why you'd be doing dip correction that automatically proves the entirety of Earth is flat. So you've raised the bar in terms of your standard. When I say after half a dozen shows, I'm suggesting that people on the periphery, someone who's new today and has watched in the future 6 or 7 shows, would hear this sort of discussion a couple of times to the point where they go, I get it now. But further to that point, they're not the person to go out and debate this subject, even though they've, like Neil saying, got a fundamental understanding of it at that point, and they do, let's pretend, understand dip correction because they've watched it. It's come up twice on 2 shows, and they really understood it. That person shouldn't be debating it. Not at all. No.
Well,
That's what I'm driving at.
It's not about debate, Nathan. It's not about debate, right? It's about for the person themselves, right? This is why when the ballers come up with the term local vertical and local horizontal, they're talking about that 500 meters that they're not adding curvature in. Now, they're taking away the curvature that should be there, right, in their own heads, right? But they're okay with that. And so would basically anyone be okay, especially if they don't know what size globe they're going to be on and all the rest of it. They have very limited knowledge. This is the person you're referring to. And all they have is an elevation angle. That's not good enough. That is not good enough for that person to be able to state, yep, Earth is a horizontal baseline. That is not good enough. I'm sorry.
In the definition.
It's good enough for you, maybe.
It's part of the definition,
though.
No. Factually, not my opinion. If you're going to say elevation, which is in reference to the surface of the Earth, and angle together, compounded, you need Earth to be flat to do it.
Yep. I agree. That's it. That's the end. You're saying it's not good enough. Now, I'm going to just agree with Brian. Yeah. You're saying that somebody could undermine that standard with waffle, maybe a bit of feast nonsense thrown in, maybe a couple of red herrings. Or if it's not even being a contested subject, just the individual assessing it on its own merits, they might say, no, in my belief, over 200 yards, there's so little curve. In other words, you're apologising for them in terms of how their mental processing might just decry this as a standard of proof. Okay? I can't undo somebody who's rolling down the hill towards anti-flat earthism. Yeah? Now, if you are accepting of what we actually measure, I don't know what to say. That is the only reasonable standard I can put on people. If that person turns around and goes, no, I fundamentally decry the basics and the premise of this angle measurement with respect to a horizontal baseline, because it's only over 500 meters and therefore there's very little curve for me to apologise for, I can't help that person, right? But the measurement is flat. It will require Earth to be a horizontal plane of reference. That means we reference it. And that's it. I can't offer anything further to that person. If you're saying not good enough because of the quality of brainwashing, or in fact, you wouldn't even, I don't care what standard you give me, I have to agree, don't I? Because you're saying in the mind's eye of your numpty who wants to disbelieve this because he's steadfast in his belief about a globe, this might not be good enough. No, maybe it's not. I mean, it's factually accurate and true, and you have no ability to contest it. We are measuring Earth flat. So from that point of view, Brian, I can't really disagree with you. It's like, okay, you're saying we need to polish this up and raise the standards of it, but it is just part of the definition of the angle measurement that Earth's flat.
Well, there's a big difference between measuring and...
That's our point. You just made our point, Nathan.
Okay, but there's a big difference between measuring an elevation angle... Hey, chocolate. There's a big difference between measuring an elevation angle in my kitchen, which is for the everyday person the same as measuring something elevation angle to something 500 meters away. Because as far as they're concerned, there'd be no. The Earth is huge, so you wouldn't have any curvature over that distance. You have to remember, these people, this is everybody, not an indictment of anyone, of any type of person. This is everybody. Most people don't know how massive or not massive the globe is claimed to be, so they're not expected to see curvature because they never saw it. And they just go, well, it's really big, so I mean, not to worry. It's only 500 meters. Do you know what I mean? So that's my point. Just saying it's measured flat, or just saying elevation.
I get that. I get that. Okay, let me respond. So you're saying in response when not good enough, their mind's eye tells them that it's just so big, it's flat. Yeah, that's what they did tell us for about 7 years, Brian. Now, what we're turning around in 2024 and saying is, so our opponent is telling us that there's so little curve to apologise for, it's okay to measure Earth flat in this very small section. So it's got a few apologetics, it's got a few weasel words, and it's got a few disclaimers. But what's the fact of the matter in their disclaimer when it's not good enough? The Earth's being measured flat, that's the only concrete part of the statement. So big. it's okay to measure it flat doesn't faze me in the slightest, because the only bit of actual declaration of measurement in their statement with apologies is the flat measurement bit, because that's what's actually happening. Now, it might be up to me in the half a dozen shows that Newbie comes along to listen to point that out a few times.
Yes, and it's basically someone not understanding what a measurement is, and they're trying to equivocate between the geometric concept of horizontal and changing what level is, what experience. It is.
Yes, John.
It's just fundamentally not understanding what a measurement is. How are you? People don't know what the meaning of the words you use are. Is that your problem?
No, I agree with you, and that's the problem. It's just something you're trying to pass on to people who are green as grass and don't know any different, and a lot of them don't really fully understand what a measurement of Earth is. You know, my point is that they're going to need more information, and they can't just get by on just it's measured flat, elevation angle. That is not enough for the everyday person.
That's not our point, though.
Brian, then chocolate. John, then chocolate.
Right. Our point is, to know it's flat, you just have to know what I just said. To argue it with someone else, you need more information, because
I'm not talking about argument. I'm not talking about argument. I'm talking about
We are.
it's not argument.
Chocolate next. Just chocolate. I want to read out one of the comments, and then chocolate. Chocolate. Then I want to read out one of the comments, please.
Not just coming into the middle of this. What I'm hearing Brian's point is when he's saying it's not enough. I agree with him that from that perspective, it's not enough, right? Because we've heard them over the years be willing to give up a little bit of their curvature if their overall argument is that it's still curved. That's why they're willing to say it's locally flat, or we measure it flat, just right here, right? As long as the overall argument is, oh, it's still a ball, even though we've measured it flat locally, right? That's not enough for them to go the whole way. I think that I mean, am I wrong? Is that what Brian's
No, that's
point
absolutely
is?
spot on. But within that context, they've measured it flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're okay with that. They'll give that up as long as the overall argument is that it's still a ball, but right here it's flat enough that we can measure it flat.
Oh yeah. So it's we measure it flat, but special pleading and belief, therefore still a globe, even though I understand locally, or whatever weasel word I insert here, the actual measurement's flat. I mean, I could even go to the extent of saying it's inappropriate at that scale to measure it as a ball. Either way, measured flat, but still a ball. There's very little globe bit to apologise for. It's so small. The area we're measuring flat.
Yeah, but Nathan, you have people who are, planar surveyors, right, who constantly deal with a flat plane, right? Planar surveyors. They're dealing with Earth as mean sea level being a horizontal. That's what they do, and they work all the time, and they can work in pretty big distances, right? It's not all small, but they can work in pretty big distances. Now, they don't give it a second thought, but they know what a measurement is. And even for that person alone, you'd have to actually point it out to them that they're measuring the Earth to be a horizontal plane, or they're using, and they go, yeah, that's what we do. We presume it's in a certain area that the Earth is just flat. You know what I mean? It's not triggering with them either. The point being is that for the person, and that's someone with knowledge and knows what a measurement is, for the everyday person, they don't know any different. Just saying, my point is, it's not so cut and dry that they're just going to be able to say, oh, it's measured flat elevation angle, problem solved. It's not going to happen.
That's not what we do.
They need more information.
I know they need more. I agree.
Well,
my only point here, I just want to round it out, and I do want to read out this comment from TB. My only point is, yes, they need more. People are going to need a firm, solid grasp of the argument to even understand it, to comprehend that Earth is measured flat, so that they can go about their day and go about their business and know what's what. I'm just saying that to then move forward as an evangelist I'm going to read out TB's comment. Okay, let me just read this out from one of the comments. It says, "You're right, Neil. You can ride off into the sunset, but if you go out and tell others and they throw heliocentric and globe concepts at you, it's necessary to know the arguments to win." I don't know about the first bit, but
no,
the
I
second bit.
just demonstrated. I said you demonstrated it's flat. You go through all the celestial navigation. You demonstrated now that it's flat. I don't care what they throw at you. They lose.
Okay.
Well, I don't. It's like we're talking at cross purposes, and I don't understand why it's getting so mixed up. For you to know and you to communicate that knowledge to others are not the same thing. For you to get someone to accept something is something completely different than both of the concepts I just mentioned before. So it depends on what you're wanting to do with this information once you've accepted it.
Okay, John, let me ask you a question. Somebody demonstrates to you beyond a shadow of doubt that Earth is flat, and you're a heliocentrist. What are you going to say after that?
We get a burger? Want dinner?
What are you going to say? What about orbits? What are you going to say? But Earth is revolving around the sun. We're the third planet from the sun. Really? I just demonstrated to you that Earth is a flat plane. I knocked heliocentrism out of the freaking ballpark.
Anything that comes out of my mouth that will be against that will be ipso facto a fallacy, no matter what I say.
Thank you. That's my point. And the only reason I could do that is because I sat in flat Earth debate for 7 years.
Okay, well, what are you saying, Neil? We should just state it, like maybe I could put it on a revolving loop. Earth's measured flat, elevation angle measurements, and then just have the definition of the horizontal plane the observer is standing on going over and over again in a loop, and then I can just retire, right? That's all anybody needs.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I just said I've been on 7 years, listening for 7 years. There's time invested. You have to invest time in everything, of course.
Okay, so now you're agreeing with this.
Yes, that's.
Yeah.
What was the point of the last 20 minutes of discussion? Oh yeah, Brian was involved.
No, but my point is, you could get a person and you could explain to them everything about how Earth is measured flat, and they don't need to know a damn thing about heliocentrism. What do they need to know?
Yeah, but what Neil is saying is you go and you demonstrate it with celestial navigation, and you go through the whole thing and you show them everything, you teach them all the things that you know about it, dip correction, everything else, proving it. That's fine.
Right.
Just say an elevation angle to something 500 meters away, that is not going to do it. I'm sorry. It's not going to do it.
Yeah, because
but even
special
talking
plating
about
fallacy.
Sorry, John. I was going to say to Neil, but even that doesn't mean anything, right? Like, it depends on the person that you're talking to and the information they're willing to take. I mean, there's probably ship captains out there right now, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Who are using the Earth as a flat plane to navigate right now, right? But in the back of their head or on the top of their mind, they still think they're on a globe, right? And there's nothing you can say to them that's going to convince them otherwise, even though literally they are doing it right now, right? So it doesn't, it depends on who you're talking to, man. Not everybody, this shit is not for everybody.
Yeah, well, if they don't accept it, it's on them, Chocolate. That's the bottom line.
Just move on with your day. Why stress out because somebody else is not getting what you're getting?
I'm not. That's not how we started this conversation. What I'm saying is, it's like preaching and choosing. Some people want it, some people don't. You can't grab them by their neck and shake them. I just got that from Paula's comments. It's the same thing. You give the information you got out. If they accept it, they accept it. But they can't turn around to me and tell me I'm wrong and bring some heliocentric nonsense into it.
Yeah, they can.
Because they just destroyed it.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can.
And what are you going to do after that? Just
Exactly.
keep repeating the same thing. What are you
Yeah,
gonna
but
do?
they can't do it and win.
No. You're not. What are you doing
You're
at that
not
point?
getting what we're putting down, Neil.
What
If
if they
you're
won in their own head?
yeah,
What
in
if
their head they've won.
actually won with the facts, but they won in their own head? What are you going to do? You're just going to beat them up, and so they accept that you win. You're going to make them say "uncle."
I walk away. I don't sit there and fight with
Yeah,
them.
you want to win,
You're
Neil.
That's the point.
Neil, you want to be an evangelist, and you want your position to be accepted by the opponent because it is the winning position. Now, that is not an unreasonable attitude, but it's not a reasonable world, and people you deal with are not reasonable. Therefore, you can present
but I'm not going to fight with them over it.
Then don't get on with your day. That's my point. That's why I'm trying to define it. Okay, Neil, thanks. Just chill out a little bit, okay? Yeah, that's why I'm trying to explain to people that there are two paths you can take. If you want to be the evangelist, then you're going to need to understand and empathise with the argument coming from your opponent so you can take them through it with them appreciating that you understand what they've told you, so they can't just tell you you don't understand and walk away with the win. Now, in that circumstance, if you've taken the former road, which is it's flat, you're not going to care that you've not converted them. You care because you want them to understand it and be able to reconcile with it on the spot with you in front of them to the point where they can admit it and console with you or whatever it is they're going to do after the fact. Now, when they don't, you're like, but they should because I've got the winning argument. Yeah, it's not a reasonable world, Neil. But
that's not what I use it to spin my words around.
That's not what Neil said.
That's
a
what I'm saying. What the frick? Am I a bad communicator? Maybe I should just go to
Neil,
frick on
relax,
you.
I'm going to help you.
Holy
That's
shit.
not what Neil is saying. That's not what Neil said at all. What Neil said is, if Neil goes and demonstrates to someone that it's flat, then he has gone through the whole process, and it's up to that person then whether they accept it or don't accept it. He has demonstrated it. He doesn't need to do anything else. That's his point, and it's true.
In this wonderful world of unicorns, that often happens to me. I just put it to people, and because I'm right, they accept it, and we move on with our day, and everything's hunky-dory. I think it's perfectly reasonable.
That's another misrepresentation of the situation.
Yeah, it is,
You're misrepresenting it because it's a delicate issue for you. This is a delicate issue for you because you have a belief in this.
It's not delicate.
What's delicate for me?
It's not delicate. It's pointing the well.
He's having a laugh, I think, actually, John. No. The point is that if you haven't got an exemplary understanding of the opponent's position, then you're never going to be able to undermine it. That's how you win debates. You need to know their argument better than they do. That's it. Well, if you're trying to debate someone and convert the opinion of others around you or them personally, you're going to get rumpus by Neil who's triggered. That's the first thing you're going to learn how to cope dealing with when someone's talking straight through the top of you. Right? Ultimately, I'm just telling the audience that even though you're going to face things like constant rumpusing when you're trying to get a point across that's been learned over many periods of time, that it isn't necessarily in your advantage to go around trying to convert people and then getting all bent out of shape because they haven't been converted on the spot because you've got the winning argument and they still don't accept it.
Wow, that is a total misrepresentation. Total misrepresentation.
Yeah,
I'm surprised
that's not what Neil said at all. That's not at all. I don't think you're listening to what Neil's saying. That's totally not representation.
I've got my own agenda. I've got two roads that I'm pointing out to people. Once you understand the argument and understand how Earth's measured, you can just get on with your day. Good for you. If you're trying to convert others, then there's a higher standard that you need to attain to be able to do that. And even if you do attain that standard, there's a very good chance that even then, you've got to watch the show when we deal with fundies and go through the same thing 15 times with them. Even then, when you do know their arguments can undermine them at a base level and show them how their arguments revolve around a flat Earth measurement, they still won't accept it, Neil. The world is not reasonable.
Nathan.
But
Nathan,
I'm still not getting to make this bloody point, so I'm going to mute G+. We'll actually make it for the first time. But if you want to be a flat Earth evangelist, then you better go about learning this stuff to a really high standard.
I just gave it to you. I just demonstrated everything to you, Mr. Heliocentrist. What do you got to say about the Earth not being flat?
I don't want to involve myself in a role play when I've got a different agenda and I'm trying to explain to people that they don't need to necessarily listen to the next 2 years of arguments and go back through all the shows because they want to be able to convert next man.
Nathan, let me ask you something. You're saying Someone trying to say?
I'm
Oh,
sorry, I
John.
wanted to jump. I
Well,
wanted to jump in. I don't have too much time. I got to go. Elevation angle is all you need.
Yes.
That's it. Your appeal, Brian, to there's just little curvature. Define an elevation angle.
I don't have to. It's not the point. I'm talking about from
It's
the
my
person.
point.
Yeah, but you're talking about from a position of dealing with a debate. I'm talking about for the person themselves, the average everyday person.
Subjective.
The
No,
average
I'm not
everyday
talking about
person
any
is not going to
person.
care about that. Then
I'm
they
not
don't even
talking
know.
about any person. This has
Well,
nothing to
that's what
do
I
with
am talking
subjective.
about. That's what I'm talking about. So I think you have
Doesn't
the
have
wrong end
anything
of the
to do
stick
with
here.
subjectivity, is what I mean.
Sorry?
Purely objective. This has nothing to do with subjectivity. All you need is an elevation, just elevation angle. It ends it.
Yeah, if you have more details with it, if you know what you're doing, you understand the
Don't need it.
situation.
Define an
If you
elevation
understand,
angle.
do you know why we started this?
Define it.
I know
I'm
what
gonna
it
prove
is.
you wrong
I'm
right
not going
now.
to define it. I'm not going to define it because you're missing the point of why this thing started.
No swearing.
Okay. Well,
No
you can
swearing.
play your little game. I
It's
ain't
not
gonna
a
hold
game.
it.
You don't understand where this came from. I don't know. You
All right.
don't know if you're listening to the start.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't want to go out this way. Right. So this is my stance. This could be the last official statement that I make. The elevation angle is all you need. Okay. So take care, brothers. Hang in there. Be cool. Right on.
I hope you're okay.
Well, thank you, Fonzie. But he is correct.
He wasn't Fonzie. He was, what's his name? In 48 Hours. Be cool. Right on. Reggie Hammond.
Nathan, the point that I'm trying to get across to you, and I've been trying to do it, is you say, you just know it's measured flat. How do you know that? Without going through all the details and all the learning, how do you know that?
I didn't. I had to learn it all. I had to spend a significant amount of time getting to the understanding and grips of it. I didn't just hear the statement rattled off, and I didn't just go to the definition to understand it. Brian is absolutely correct in context with social status and social surroundings and psychological assessment all in tow, and the world that we really live in and the people that we actually encounter. Brian knows he's correct in a real context. Doesn't alter what QE said. Doesn't mean that when you just define what an elevation angle is, that is literally all you need, because it is.
Right. But see, this is where it's getting mixed up, right? For you to know, all you need is the elevation angle. You will know because you know it. All things put to you to disagree with you will be fallacious, because then what you do know isn't what you know. Hold on, God, be quiet, Neil. I'm not finished. But then that's just one level. I ain't even going to call it a level. That's just your personal understanding. Now, if you're going to go and communicate that with someone else, right, you're going to have to make sure that they understand the words you're using, maybe even a Socratic method. This is assuming this person has no knowledge of heliocentrism or the Earth. And you can communicate that information to them. But we're going even further than that, because we're going to someone who has been brainwashed with fallacious arguments. If we're going to be an evangelist,
right?
That's why you would be dealing with it. So
He's finally getting to, with clear air, reiterate my point, and Neil's rumpusing bloody him now. I had to make 4 attempts to make this point, John, and everyone got rumpus by Neil. Try again. Hopefully Neil can keep his trap shut this time. It's about the 5th or 6th attempt between you and I to make this bloody point.
The point is, right, is what are you trying to do? Right? If you just want to know, that's all you need. You just need to know what an elevation angle is. It ends the concept that it could be spherical to begin with. At its root, it's done.
Are you done now? Are you done now? Can I go?
No, because he's going to juxtapose it with the other standard, the other path, the path of evangelicism, or whatever the word is, to describe you going out, praise be to flat earth, trying to convert people with argumentation, aka debate. There's a very, very different standard to an appreciation of an elevation angle measurement by definition within the Socratic method for a reasonable person that doesn't just defy what bloody words mean. It proves we're measuring Earth flat. That's all you need. It undermines any premise of it being spherical. It can't be. That is literally all you need. Does that person who understands that, after us reiterating it 7 times on this show alone, have the ability to go out and debate how Earth is flat to a globe believer who has a reasonable understanding of orbits? Absolutely not. That's a different standard. That's what I'm now segueing over to John, so hopefully he'll be tolerated, because I'll just be accused of waffling on about it too much, or something similar, if I'm not careful. Go ahead, John. That's where you were going, and I hope you'll hope it was along that lines, otherwise I'll look like a right dick.
Right. But if you are wanting to go to people who are already indoctrinated with fallacious logic, you are going to need to understand how to unpick those fallacies. Not that you don't know they're going to be fallacious when they argue against you, because you already know. Ipso facto must be a fallacy, but if you can't point that out to them, you're never going to convert them, evangelist.
Finally.
Nobody wants to role play, though, right? I gave you the opportunity, and nobody did. Once you demonstrate it, it does not matter. Whoever comes, I don't care if a guy comes down the block, you take him through the process and have demonstrated that Earth is flat. I don't care what he says. You're just going to keep coming back to what are you talking about?
Okay,
I
yes.
just demonstrated that Earth is flat.
Okay, perfect. Let's just break that down. Upon demonstrating to a third party that Earth is measured flat, you, as the individual, don't care that he's throwing back something in contradiction, because it won't be true. You were right all along. Yes, Neil, that's absolutely right. Fulfilling standard number 1, you can go in peace with your understanding that Earth is flat based on the measurements. Okay, but have you achieved anything other than a little row with someone who disagreed with you at that stage? No, you didn't achieve anything. You just ruined your day and his slightly. That's it. He went in peace knowing it was a still talking. Neil's going to ruin it for the 8th time. He's going to go in peace knowing that it's a ball and he's dealt with some numpty you didn't understand, because you didn't have anything to undo his fallacies with, as John put it. Yeah? Now, if your righteous endeavour is to be the evangelist for flat Earth, then you better have your wits about you and know all of his fallacies so you can unpick them, and that means a good understanding of the heliocentric understanding that he thinks he's got to prove his ball, so that you can eventually link it back to a flat Earth measurement that you told him in the first place. And satisfy
He's got to prove his
There's the 8th attempt out the window. There's the 8th attempt triggered Neil, because obviously it's when I take a breath that Neil decides to chant straight through the middle of the 9th attempt of the example. And no matter how much I keep talking, Neil's going to ruin the show with his non-stop ranting through the top of an example that's been attempted to be made 9 times. Thanks, Neil. Wonderful having you here. 9 attempts, Neil, to make the exact same bloody example. You better be good at understanding the arguments and how they are positioned by our opponents if you're going to convert them, or have the slightest opportunity to convert them, or even leave them with the slightest of doubt that they might be wrong. And if you just know it's flat to your own satisfaction, you're not going to be in a position to do that. You need to listen for a long period of time to all the arguments and understand them inside out and back to front, if you're going to be an evangelist. I don't suggest anybody should be that. Just go in peace. You know it's measured flat. Wonder at the wonders of the world that you now don't know. Take solace and joy in those things. What's that? You don't know why the sky is blue? How joyous. You might be the one to find out. Why are you worried about what bloody next man thinks? Oh, right, and you're still right when he disagrees with you. Yeah, you are. Why were you arguing with him in the first place if you know you're right anyway? Why are you just an antagonist? But if you're going to be that antagonist, be right and prove it. With every step of every argument that they could throw at you. That takes a lot of discipline. That's all I'm trying to communicate to my audience. That's it. Don't be that flat earth dickhead that doesn't know your stuff. You'll just end up looking like a numpty. You don't want to be that guy. Not along. Respect people's beliefs when you know that's what they are. Just go, okay, yeah, you believe you're on a sphere. Okay, cool. And then move on with your day. knowing better, because you do. You don't have to challenge them. You don't have to be the evangelist. You don't have to do that.
I used to leave my coworkers with just anybody just let me know when you guys get an actual measurement of curvature. This was like years ago, right? Now, if they don't like it, they'll leave you alone. But if you have left a little bit of doubt in them with your argumentation, trust and believe they will seek you out. They will find you. They will bring it up. I've had it happen. People who have walked away from me, like, I don't even want to talk about this. And then days later, so that thing we were talking about, right? That's going to be some people. It's not going to be everybody. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's
Do you know
their
why that is,
pain.
Chocolate?
It's their pain, not yours.
Exactly, because they know something. They don't realize they know it, but it's like a splinter in their mind.
Yes.
I love going to the Matrix with analogies on this. It is. It's a splinter.
And what makes it even, yeah, you're right. And what makes it even worse for them is when you come in with the attitude of, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. You don't, but we can leave it alone and just talk about work or talk about something else if you don't want, because I'm not here to make you emotional about what you believe. I'm just here to talk about facts, things that you can measure, right? And trust and believe they'll leave you alone if that's not their cup of tea.
And there's the irony. To be able to be in that position, you only are there because of you elevating yourself to understand their arguments so that you can position them as beliefs back at them in a nonchalant way. You've got to kind of have that advanced understanding to hand wave their belief in the way that Chocolate's done. He can only do that because of his exemplary understanding of the debate and the process and everything that we've been through. So therefore, he's sitting pretty. He can not care about it, if you know what I mean. And when someone challenges him, he can hand wave it as their belief, because it is. But he's got to know that balls to bones, right? And know that this is going to neg them, not him. He's confident, Chocolate that is, in his position, doesn't need any more affirmation. For them, it's a splinter in their mind. It's going to nag at them from the moment they part company. And Chocolate knows that too. But he's not going to get all that from just reading the definition of an elevation angle, is he? Yeah? So, what is it? The alternative, if you're just that guy who knows that an elevation angle measurement proves Earth's flat and cannot be anything else, and you get into a debate with Next Man, there's a good chance that he'll challenge you with an orbital motion that you don't know how to overcome, and you'll part ways annoyed with each other because you haven't converted him, but you still know. It's like, well, why were you arguing with him? You could have just gone about your business. You didn't have to challenge his belief. Shouldn't you have respect for other people's beliefs? Now, if you enter into a debate with that person and you are, for whatever reason, you feel righteous in your endeavour to put this person straight, they're a loved one, and it's worth the effort, and you want them to know what you know out of love and respect for them rather than wanting to get one over because you're a dick, then you're going to gently take the time to try and get them to understand that which is true. There's a very different methodology in that. And again, you'll probably fail if you just know the definition of an elevation angle, even if your heart's in the right place. So there's two different standards. That's it. That's the only thing I was trying to get across to Neil. Every time I got to the but, there's a second road of conversion as an evangelist, he'd rumpus me and go, no, that's all we need. It's all we need. It's all we need. That's the point that you've proven the point. Once you've proven it, isn't that it? Oh, if that was true, we wouldn't be here, would we? We're still here. Yeah, we've still got daily shows. Is the Western world converted? It would spread like wildfire if that was the truth. It's not. We're not in a reasonable world. Yeah? So to a certain degree, you've got to look out for number one, keep your own sanity. Once you know what you know, respect other people's beliefs and go about your business. Any last remarks before ask everyone to stay tuned for the after show?
I really don't know what was supposedly accomplished here. I don't get it.
We're trying to deter.
You're saying, Nathan, to just take people as measured flat and send them on their way. That's basically what you've been saying. That's not good enough. And saying elevation angle to them is not good enough. These people don't know what the world is. They believe it's a globe. Just doing that much is not enough. You have to actually be able to show them and go through all the details and everything else. And you need to have more than just a 500-meter distance to you need to go through celestial navigation with elevation angles to get and go through all the process with dip correction and everything to actually show them. Then they can go forward, but they can't argue it because they only have one piece. They can't argue positions because they don't have enough information to argue positions, as in against the globe, or will come up with all kinds of nonsense.
You didn't listen.
Just that much. They need more than just elevation angle, because that's not enough for the everyday person.
Right. As an evangelist in a society that has already been brainwashed, yes. But that's not what we've been saying.
Yeah.
But
okay, before you get back into the discussion, you can start back up in the after show, right?
Say
that.
I agree. I've been misrepresented here.
I'm agreeing with you.
There's no point in me bringing up things because I get there's no point in me bringing up a subject if I'm just going to get misrepresented.
But I agree with you.
There's no
People
point.
need more, and I'm about to agree with you. Yes, I absolutely agree with Brian. The standard's too low, and therefore to attain a higher standard with everyday folk who are in the position of indoctrination, they need more. And if you're that guy, you can get it right here by subscribing and hitting the like button, sharing, and you can pass on that wonderful information that we deliver daily to everybody else. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. However, with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a massive thank you to the live Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. But stay tuned if you are watching on an after show, because there will be one after the outro for the live audience. So stay tuned if you are watching on an after show.
Convert the measurement, right? Always use a horizontal plane, or they only measure a horizontal plane. That's the end of that. You don't. So no matter what they say to you after that means nothing.
Right.
Does it? Yeah, exactly. That's your point. It's not about you trying to convert the other person. It's about the other person. No matter what they have to say after you show them, it means nothing.
I agree with that too.
You guys just
I agree with that too.
Ignoring me and Nathan. Is that y'all are just completely ignoring us and then claiming we're straw manning your position, and then you state something that's has nothing to do with what we said.
Yeah, no, you're saying stuff that has nothing to do with what we're saying, and that's the problem. So you're saying stuff that has no connection to what we're saying.
We're directly addressing what you're saying, but you want to prove to someone else.
No, that's the completely opposite of what I just said. The complete opposite of what I just said. Okay. No, I didn't.
Yeah, that is
no, Neil, did I say that? Did I just detail your position correctly?
Yeah, that's all. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, and did I at any point make it out that you were trying to convert someone?
No.
Or did I say the opposite? Did I say you don't care whether they're converted or not? You're not trying to do that. You're just showing that no matter what they say to you afterwards, there's no way for them to convince you of anything other than that. You have just shown them a measurement.
Yes, because I deal with my son every day. It's the same thing. I tell him all the time. No matter what he says to me, it doesn't matter. I've just demonstrated Earth is flat. He's going to be happy. He's in misery. He's in pain because he's coming every single night with something. And Earth is just measured flat. Deal with it.
Yeah, that's Neil's position. That's what Neil's position is.
All right. Neil is in the third position, right? You have the person in a vacuum where there is no heliocentrism or flat earth believers or globe believers, no geocentrists, just people who understand basically at just a basic level of understanding what a measurement is. And they know Earth is measured flat, right? They don't need any more information. Then you have the next guy who is in, say, a paradigm that's dominated by the Western world's ideology of heliocentrism, who wants to share that information with someone, right? Now that's where what the example you just gave would come in.
Okay, John, hold on. I'm gonna do something right now. Yeah, I'm a ball. I've been listening to the show. What do you mean Earth is measured flat, John? Can you tell me what that means, Earth is measured flat? Just play along with me, please.
You take elevation angles with respect to the Earth, An angle is two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Therefore, Earth must be flat to get an elevation angle.
Okay, but I was taught in school that I'm the third planet from the sun, and we orbit around the sun, and the sun is the center of the solar system that we are in.
So you want me to respond to that instead of you addressing what I said?
It's non sequitur.
What? Yeah, no, what are you talking about? I'm a glober.
Yeah. So you're saying that a fundy will offer up a non sequitur? Yeah. Let's take it out of context of globe versus flat just for a second. If I'm trying to tell somebody about Xenu not being real because he comes from a sky vacuum, and I'm telling somebody who is on the outside of Scientology that Xenu's not real because you can't have men come from sky vacuums, yeah? Then the person's going to understand the argument because they are of a reasonable, level-headed disposition to take on board the information about a religious aspect of Scientology and why it's not real. Fine. Now the standards are going to change because now I'm going to go inside to the Scientology priesthood and try and convert some of their members into understanding why Xenu's not real. Suddenly, the standards change drastically. Now, in this comparison, the standards for us are dealing with the Scientologist religious zealot in all instances with any member of the Western world, because they're all in the cult. Therefore, to reach the standards of conversion, it's not like you're just trying to convince someone of a political view. It's very different. You're trying to convince them of a standard that they've never been exposed to because they've always been in the paradigm that they thought they were leaving, or they're not leaving. They were always part of a paradigm that they can't look at from the outside in on. So your standards of proof for them are very, very different to somebody who can look on the outside of a political view that they may not hold for the sake of example or comparison. Yes? No?
Forget it. You're right. You're right. Forget it. You're right.
I'm just saying that
Chocolate,
we're dealing with
I
fundies in all
overtalked you there a
instances.
minute ago. You had something to say.
Go on.
Chocolate, I'm just saying, Chocolate, I got in the way of something you were trying to say there a few minutes ago. Just going to say that Chocolate had something to add.
Don't worry about it. I've already moved on in my head. Sorry.
All right, sorry. All right, I apologize. All I was trying to do was show Neil that I understood his position and point out that his position wasn't what was being framed as.
This is the question I had. When Neil said it, once he presents or once he demonstrates the Earth is measured flat to somebody, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to who. To you?
I meant it doesn't matter what they come back with.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the person who knows to you, right?
Or even to them. What do you mean, even to them? What was it going to be different for them in their mind?
Then you just had a conversation that didn't matter to anybody.
What I'm saying, no, you're missing what I'm saying. Once you demonstrate, it doesn't matter what they come up with. It's not a globe. We're not in a solar system. We're not hurtling through space. So no matter what they say is refuted by the fact that it's demonstrated and measured flat. So even if they don't want to believe it in their mind, that's on them. I'm not here to convert you. I'm here to disseminate the information, and you take with it what you will. It could matter to them in their mind. Fine.
Right. If you're not, there you go. If you're not there to convert them, why are you even having the conversation? Just go about your business. That's my point.
Because they brought it up.
But then you can just nod along. Respect their belief. Oh, that's really interesting that you believe that.
Why would you do that? Keep people in darkness?
Why would you humour somebody? It's that you're asking me about a societal standard now. Why would we behave in a certain way to comport with what people expect in society? You're asking the wrong person, Neil. Generally speaking, I just piss people off because I don't care. At a societal level, you're definitely not asking the right person there. But yeah, I can empathise with those who might not want to engage in an argument when they're just going about getting their groceries. Therefore, I can say, well, yeah, if you know it's flat, you don't have to engage yourself in these discussions. It's not necessary.
Or you could say, I could tell you, but I don't want to ruin your day. Is that what you're saying?
Whatever you see fit, Neil, whatever you think's the best thing to do. But I'm just saying, if your ambition is to convert them, then you've got to have a much, much higher standard. You probably are at that standard, Neil, and even then you don't always win. You don't always convert them. It's shrouded in disappointment, right?
Probably. That's a freaking insult.
Because
What, you think you do win?
acceptance and
You're always moaning
comprehension
about your son.
are not the same thing.
You're moaning that there's
What was
somebody in
that?
your family that's not being converted, right? In spite of all of the evidence, in spite of the facts. Yeah. So even then, even
No,
at the
who
highest of
knows?
standards, this is really difficult today with you, Neil. I don't know why.
You brought up my son. I'm driving, that's why. Okay? So have a little freaking leniency.
Okay, fair
Starting
enough.
to piss me off.
I'm not trying to piss you off. I'm just saying that with all the best intentions and all the knowledge you have, there's still going to be circumstances where you're dealing with somebody who's ingrained with their belief no matter what you do. In which case, at that point, I can't even argue my point because there's no point in even attaining those standards. You still won't win.
That's my point. That's why I said I deal with my son every night. The information goes in one ear and out the other, but it doesn't. Because that's why he's coming back every night. He knows beyond the shadow of a doubt. You cannot get around the fact of measurements.
Right. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm making myself clear, or y'all are telling me that you disagree with the statement that for you to know the earth is flat, you just have to know how it's measured. Like, that's not good enough for some reason for us to say that.
No, I'm disagreeing that you have to know heliocentrism inside out, upside down, back and forward, which I do. I'm sitting here for how many years? But I really don't think you do once you have this knowledge. I don't need to know all about Islam, Hinduism, and all the others if I want to bring people to Jesus.
Okay, that's a different, it's slightly different, Neil.
I know, I'm just using it as a comparison.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's.
How? Wait,
The
whoa,
thing
whoa,
is,
it's not. It's a
for you-
religion. Is heliocentrism a religion? Hold on, John, I got you here. You always said truth, right? What is truth? Now, all
That
I
was
have to do
conformed
to
to the
convert
perfect
people
mind
to
of God.
Jesus is stick with truth. I don't need to know about Islam. I don't need to know about anything else. Heliocentrism is a lie. All I have to do is stick to the truth that Earth is measured flat. You said it yourself, John. You cannot fight against a measurement. So why do I have to know how long it takes for the moon to revolve around the sun, or Earth to revolve around the sun, or Venus, or Mars, or any freaking thing like that?
Okay, yeah, that's for you to know that. Exactly. For you to know that. You don't need to know any of that. Exactly. That's my point. Why are you disagreeing?
But even to let them know. This is my point.
Let them know what.
No matter what they say about heliocentrism, I don't care. I'm going to explain to them how it's flat. So everything they say to me doesn't make any sense if I know heliocentrism or not.
Okay,
Neil's
so we've
point, if you allow me
engaged with
to-
someone who. Hold on a sec. We've engaged with someone else now. We're no longer talking about what we know. We're trying to share information. We're talking about their acceptance. We are not the authority of their acceptance. Do you realize that?
Yeah, but that's on them, the acceptance part. If they want to accept something that's not true, then that's on them. Evangelism is done. You've done your job. Evangelism
Right
is
now, to
not
the
to
third
convert.
party watching, hold on, to the third person watching you two argue, they hear you make a statement, them say you're wrong, give a fallacious argument. You don't detail the fallacy and what it is. What does it look like to the third person who's just
What do you
listening?
mean? What does God look like to the third person? The guy says to me after I demonstrated beyond a shadow of doubt, Earth is flat. We're living on a flat plane. And he throws some heliocentric nonsense at me. And I say, listen, I just told you Earth is measured flat. What do you mean? What is it going to look like? The person looking is going to be like, yeah, he's just demonstrated it's flat. What are you talking about a globe? Did you not hear what that guy just said to you? He just demonstrated, and I was listening beyond the shadow of a doubt that it's measured flat. They just brought celestial
Neil, you're not
navigation.
listening to yourself. Neil, you're not listening to yourself. You're listening. You're the one speaking. Someone else who doesn't know anything about the topic, but they've been indoctrinated with this religion, right? So they're going to have the same rhetoric as him. Hold on. Have made a statement against what you have just said. And so all it has done is affirm their bias.
Why is there a third person involved in this? I don't understand that. Hang on, Neil never brought a third person into this. You brought a third person into it, John. There's no third person. Neil is just talking about a situation where someone approaches him with some nonsense, and he points out and demonstrates how no, the Earth is measured flat. Then, no matter what the person says after that, there's no overcoming what Neil has demonstrated. There's no third person.
Right.
I mean, that's Neil's
Exactly.
point. It doesn't
And I
matter
don't
who's
have
there.
to have any. Sorry, I'm driving. So all I'm saying is I don't have to have any knowledge. Oh, okay. Go ahead, bye. Sorry, I'll go on mute.
My point is, John, is that what Neil is trying to portray is that if someone comes at him with some nonsense and he goes no, and he details an elevation angle in celestial navigation, goes through it down, that means the Earth is measured flat. The Earth has to be a flat plane for that process to work. That's the end of that. The person after that, no matter what they say, means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter who's listening in. It doesn't matter. From a base argument point of view, nothing can beat it.
Oh my God! But all right, facts are not arguments. Are you really going to have an argument about a fact?
No, I'm just trying to. I'm just trying to detail what Neil's point is. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, and I'm pointing out that we're talking about not only communication, but communication with another person. And then on top of that, you have communication with an entire audience who's watching. There's more to this than just what you know.
Yeah, why don't you go through all the heliocentrism, all the arguments of heliocentrism when you're detailing how Earth is measured flat, John? Okay? Because I don't care. If somebody was right there with you and they brought something else up, you would say over and over again, no, it's demonstrated flat. I've just shown you through measurements how it's flat. What do you mean orbits? All those orbits, all those measurements for the orbit you took came off a flat plane. What are you talking about? Anything they say is refuted by the fact that Earth is measured flat. Why do I got to know about heliocentrism?
Yes, that's the first position. Now you have to. Do you want someone to accept that?
That's all three positions.
No, it's not. It's just one position restated in different ways.
You still haven't proven to me how that's going to affect the person in the other position. Nobody's done it yet.
Okay, I did. I went through it like 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, and then just 30 seconds ago. Okay, well, let's just do it
Maybe
simply.
I'm not communicating it right. Whatever. All I know is I don't need to know anything about heliocentrism. I don't. It's a religion, and it's a bad one at that. And it's been demonstrated to be false. You want to hang around there and stay in there and break down heliocentrism to them after you've demonstrated it's flat? That's on you.
Yeah, that
What's
I
the
don't
word
even understand.
that's
I
heliocentrism
don't
her
mean?
even
first
understand how
What's the
position.
that's a
word
point.
heliocentrism mean, John?
I don't even understand how that's a point, Neil.
What's
If you're going to,
heliocentrism mean?
if you're going to be demonstrating measurements of flatness to anybody, they're going to have to be in the world of heliocentrism, right? In order to even for that conversation to even make sense. So I don't even know what you're saying right now. Maybe I'm bugging. I missed a lot of this, but I don't know.
Yeah, you missed the beginning. That's why you're not getting it. It's all right. I still don't
Why don't
get
you
it.
state the beginning then? Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning and see
Yeah,
if
I
all
don't
this
feel like
stacks
going
up.
through this all
Can
over
anybody
again.
remember what the
You
beginning
go
is?
through it again. You go through it. I'll go study my
Uh-huh.
heliocentrism book. I'll make sure that I know everything about heliocentrism before I tell anybody about flat Earth. I'll go do that right now.
Nobody wants to state the original position. You want me to restate what kicked this argument off? There's a
I
lot of dead
can't. I'm
air.
doing a delivery right now.
Maybe it's a sensitive topic. That's the problem, isn't it? It's real sensitive to me and
No,
Nathan.
I'll set it off again. Nathan was saying you better have an exemplary knowledge of heliocentrism if you want to go out and be a flat earth evangelist or whatever. Who wants to do that? I don't know. But I'm saying if somebody comes your way and you're just in conversation, I don't need it. I don't. I just need the knowledge I have now about how Earth is measured flat. Because no matter what they say, it's a contradiction and it's wrong and it
It's
can't
not.
be proven.
This started off with the statement. This started off with the statement that an elevation angle wasn't good enough.
No, I think Brian, that's where it
To
got
say
mixed
the
up
Earth is
because I
measured
think
flat.
Brian, hold on. I think Brian was dealing directly with Nathan with that. I think that's what happened. It got tied into one big knot. That's what happened.
Is that statement true or false? An elevation angle is not good enough to know the Earth is measured flat.
I think it is. I don't understand what you're saying. That's what I've been saying.
Well, that is the standard. If you understand what the standard is, and you can say, yes, it is. That's what to measure is to know.
Yeah, but I think Brian's more or less saying
Because
that
it ties.
there's other people in the audience that don't understand that. So it's not enough to just say an elevation angle. You got to be able to break it down for them so they understand it.
Not them. Me, Neil. Not them. Not you, Neil. Me. For me to know.
Yeah, I'm talking about Nathan
So that's
now.
the
I'm not
first
talking about my
position.
position.
Yeah, so you're not going to listen back to how this argument progressed now, right?
I already told you, it got lumped in one big knot.
Yeah, because everybody was ignoring what we were saying and talking about something else.
No, John, because you're saying one thing and then the next breath you're saying, no, you need to know heliocentrism. When you're just saying,
No, I'm not.
you need to
No,
know
I'm
an
not.
elevation
That's
angle is
not
all you
what I'm
need.
saying.
And QE came in and said the same thing. Now you're going to go into the evangelist shit again.
Okay, then let's go back to this first statement. The elevation angle is not enough to know the Earth is flat. That's what kicked this off because, Earth is measured flat, hashtag, that's a sensitive subject for you and Nathan, right?
I didn't say that. Who said that? When did you hear me say that? I never said that.
We're talking about the argument. Are you the only one arguing this, Neil? We're talking about the progression of the argument now, right?
I gotta go on mute. I'm doing a delivery. Give me 5 minutes.
Yeah. Let me just tell you, Neil. I'm demonstrating how towards the end of the argument, somebody switched positions, and it wasn't me.
We're glad we
Nathan,
cleared
you
that
want to
up.
play a video today?
You what, Neil?
Nothing's been cleared up, Nathan. Nothing was cleared up. Are you playing a video?
No. Was I playing a video, did you ask? Ask me again, Brian. What did you just say?
I can't talk for a second, Nathan.
Okay. I'll speak later.
Well, see, there's the appearance of an argument here, but we just don't know what the argument is. But I think let's redefine our terms, get back to the basic statements that are in conflict, and get to our valid point of contention. Isn't that the purpose of a debate anyway?
They're both shut down. They're scared of this discussion.
I'm trying to deal with fighting cats. Give me a minute.
I think this is just a troubling argument for you and Neil. Very
No,
sensitive.
I'm tired of you misrepresenting me and not understanding what I'm saying. I'm doing a delivery right now. I know what I need to know. That's all I know.
Yeah, and that's
And
kind
I
of that's kind of my point. If you've got that, then you can go about your business, right? You've got all you need to know.
No, I could even tell the next man who comes to me and starts saying something about heliocentrism. I could deal with the next man too, just by knowing that Earth is flat and measured that way. End of story. That's my point.
Okay. Okay for us to disagree about that. I think that, unless you can really understand all of the arguments inside and back to front, you're probably not going to do a very good job of debating it. Because generally, the person who wins a debate knows both sides of the position best.
No matter what they come up with, Nathan, Earth is measured flat. I don't understand why this is so hard to understand.
Yeah, that's true too. But as Brian would say, it may not be enough for a fundy.
Yeah. Which side are you arguing on, Neil? Are you on our side now?
I set it up. Oh my God! You used to really freaking pissing me off.
Chill out.
I used to really try to piss me off today.
No, it was all projection, you see,
The way
John.
you're misrepresenting Neil now, John, is out of order. And you put your hands up a few minutes ago in victory was out of order as well.
No, that wasn't me putting my hands up and claiming victory.
Nah, it was.
That was
It
me.
was
Going back to the initial point of contention, which we will do again. Go ahead and make this statement that, because you're the one that made the statement to Nathan about the valid point of contention. Go ahead and make that statement so we can start again.
What statement did I make to Nathan?
About how knowing the elevation angle and Earth is measured flat is not enough. That's what John wants to fight about today.
For the everyday person.
Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
For the everyday numpty person, the everyday Joe Soap, for that person, right? They're not going to realize when they're making a 500-meter measurement and they're not including curvature, they're not going to realize that they are actually measuring it flat. The only way that they would know that the whole Earth has been measured flat would be you'd have to go through the elevation angle and celestial navigation with them and the dip correction and all these things that prove it. Because they are not going to know any difference. Just telling them elevation angle, you may as well be telling them door frame. They don't. That's my point about it. My point was overflip the hashtag measure flat. Know it's measure flat and go forward thing. They can't know it. They don't know it. They need more detail than just that. That's my point. People need more detail. than just that, to get to that knowing, to know it. Now, they won't be able to argue it, but they know it, as long as they know it.
All right, Neil, you just stated that all you need to know is the Earth is measured flat. Maybe you two need to have the argument then.
That's not what Neil's point was. That's misrepresent. I don't think you've been either you're purposely misrepresenting Neil, or you're just not paying attention to what he's
Neil,
saying.
please
He said it
restate your
doesn't matter
point.
what someone
Please
says back,
restate
which
your
is
point.
true.
No.
But that doesn't mean you're going to win a debate. That doesn't mean that you're wrong because you lose it. It might appear to lose the debate. No, it means that technically, no matter what someone says back, once you detail that situation again to them, they have nothing. They don't. Doesn't matter what they say. It's proven, so they can say what they want, and that's Neil's point.
Right, but being proven to you, proven to them, right? That's two different things, right? Like you're not the same person having the argument with yourself, right? So you're saying to know the Earth is measured flat is not enough, or is that enough?
I'm saying that you don't, if you just say that alone, if you just detail a measurement that absolutely proves that it's measured to be a horizontal plane, that can't be beaten. But that doesn't mean, in the eyes of a spectator, right, or someone else, if you are in a debate, that doesn't mean that the person you're debating with can't make it look like they won when they didn't. I can't guarantee that can't happen. But in realistic terms, no matter what they say after that, means nothing. You won straight out at that point. But it's down to whether the person accepts it and whether the audience understands it.
So it is not enough to know the Earth is measured flat if you're going to talk to someone else about it.
Yeah, but it is enough to know for you. For you personally, it's enough to know, but not for an audience. If you know what I mean. If you just have, it may not be enough for an audience. But we're in hypotheticals here. It may not be enough for an audience, but for you, yeah, you might know there's nothing that they can say to compete what you just put forward. That may be true, right? That is true. But for an audience, no, so, maybe that's not enough. I don't like. This is hypothetical.
Right. This isn't contradictory positions or different standards. It's just different standards. Right. What you know, what the person you're talking to accepts, and what the audience believes. So, because that's what it's going to boil down to.
That's what it always is anyway.
Yes, then why did you argue with me for 30 minutes?
Yeah, that's how I felt about 10 minutes ago.
Because you kept telling me I gotta know the heliocentrism. Holy shit, that's it, I'm leaving.
No, you're missing Neil's point from the get-go.
Neil's reaffirming our point when he says, well, that's good enough for me. You're like, yeah, that's exactly the point. At the point that it's good enough for you, stop there. Because even if you go forth and say, well, this fundy didn't even accept my absolute stone cold proof that it's measured flat, he disagreed and started babbling on about some non sequitur with orbits. It's like, yeah, so why bother even engaging in the conversation? However, if you're going to commit to that sort of discussion, you've got to know about his understanding of heliocentrism, how to unpack it. You've got to understand all those things if you're going to stand half a chance of actually serving some benefit to your discussion with him. Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, that's actually introducing the third party, the people who are just wanting to believe in because they're watching you too. Does he accept the Earth is measured flat first? Does he accept your information? That is the question.
I don't know what's got Neil's ass today.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, it's understandable because, you know, we deal with anti-flat earthers who are in the position that they say they don't accept the information, right? They say we're wrong. And then when we get into their beliefs, yeah, they do accept the information. They use it constantly, you know? They just want to deny it when it's pointed out, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. It's like,
Now,
here you go, here's an analogy. We're saying we've got a silver bullet. Okay. That is to say, it undermines the globe argument, proves it's flat. Yeah, that's absolutely without question the case. You've only got to define what an elevation angle is and understand it by definition to understand that is the case in terms of Earth's measurement. But your silver bullet doesn't seem to work on zombies. No, yeah, that's the thing about zombies. You can shoot them in the head 5 times and they just keep crawling their way towards you, don't they? It's like, yeah, does it change that it's a silver bullet? No, it doesn't. Once you understand it, that's it. It'll snap you out of the paradigm if you understand it. If you deny it because you've got a bias that you need to affirm in your religious rhetoric that you thought was true about a ball and you brace against it, well, what you've done is just you've become a zombie. I can't do much with zombies. Problem is, most of the Western world are either blissfully ignorant or zombies. So yeah, well, leave them to be blissfully ignorant or deal with the zombies. But then your silver bullet won't do the trick. You need more to overcome the zombies.
and it just so happens if you understand their rhetoric, they'll give it to you every time.
Yeah.
Problem with that is that then you end up like Witsit, right?
Which is what?
So,
Which is basically you're going off topic. Then you end up in what you guys call the feast of nonsense, right? You kind of stuck in that conversation back and forth for a while. Where if you have your silver bullet and can provide references that's indisputable, then why even entertain that other stuff?
Yeah.
Because for the people who believe it in the audience, that's the third point, right? You're stating information, they're saying you're wrong. Someone else is listening and trying to affirm their bias. Well, you can take that away by showing that what they're claiming requires what you say to be true. That is a silver bullet.
And to unpack that, that is to say, your globe claim as my opponent requires what I say to be true. What I say is Earth must be measured flat for your globe claim.
I think Kiwi says it best, right? I think people have a confusion that we're in this belief thing, but we're not, right? It's about facts, and that's it. If you're unwilling to accept it, then I'm just going to be wasting my time with you anyway.
Yeah.
So what's my objective?
Exactly. Huey says it's not an agree-disagree subject. This is not an agree-disagree genre. The things that we put across here aren't up for debate and are not contentious. Now, if you want to make them contentious, zombie globe believer, yeah, that's a different story, isn't it? You want to deny the premise of reality. You want to deny that horizontal is horizontal and it's actually bending. That's a different story, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. For a believer, the rhetoric is what props up their belief. If they're saying you're wrong, but it's part of their rhetoric, what are they saying there?
Well, in reality, they're saying your understanding of how the Earth is measured flat to give me my globe is wrong. Ergo, I choose to undermine the genesis of my own claim because the genesis of my own claim is your claim? Or to break that down, the genesis of the globe claim is a flat Earth measurement. Because you don't want it to be flat, you must deny the premise the globe is based on in order to deny that it is a flat plane that we've measured to give you the globe that you believe in. That's the scenario you're left with.
That's a tough position for them, right?
Share your pain.
But how long did it take us to come to that understanding?
10 years. Well, 5 for you. I don't know if it's 5 for you, but I'm just guessing.
Seven for me, though.
But learning something and understanding something doesn't mean that once you've reached that lofty level of understanding, that it has to take the same amount of time for next man to appreciate that which you've learned. It doesn't have to take as long. Yeah, you as a teacher can figure a way of educating the person you're trying to tell in a better way, and therefore make it more concise, more refined. That's all we do on a daily basis, with objections because of the way that we may have phrased it poorly. But that refinement has taken a long time as teachers. But it means that the person, the student listening to it, doesn't have to necessarily go through the nitty-gritty path that we've had to tread to get here to be able to disseminate it to next man concisely. The standard's still higher, though, if you want to convert people. That's all the whole show was about, really. Like training someone to be a teacher as opposed to teaching. The teacher can sit in the class and teach a whole bunch of students the premise that you need to educate them in relatively rapidly and get a result that could be testable in terms of their comprehension of it. Okay. But by the same token, if you want to be a teacher, can you do that after being the student in that class? No, you've got to go to university. You've got to go really high certification level. You've got to be certified and tested yourself for your ability to educate others. So therefore, the standard to be the educator is higher than the standard to be the educated. The student cannot necessarily be the teacher. That's my point. Why didn't I come up with that 2 friggin' hours ago?
It's different, though. Hold on. When you're teaching in school, you're not teaching this is one thing that's a lie, and this is the other thing that's the truth by measurement. What are you talking about?
You're working outside of my analogy. If I'm teaching somebody how to do something, yeah, to be the teacher requires a higher standard of education to be in a position to teach. That is to say, if you go through a high school education, you cannot then, at the end of the process, upon being given your GCSEs, or whatever it is you have in the States, you can't then go to the front desk of the school you've just come out of and go, can I teach next man what I've just learned? They'll go, oh no, you must go to university and reach a much higher standard in order to be able to teach people. You'll go, well, I've just learned it all.
Nathan.
Surely I understand, I've comprehended that which he's taught me. Why can't I teach next man? Do you understand?
Okay, I got that, Nathan. I'm going to teach somebody how to install flooring tomorrow. I don't need to know how the plumbing works.
What about if the person that you're teaching insists that all things revolve around plumbing being the heart of the build, and that you must always consider the plumbing, Neil? And you turn around and go, and Neil, I haven't finished my bloody example, and you're already interrupting me. You're already chanting straight through the middle of the example. This is why I got annoyed with you the last 9 times. Yes, you won't now, won't shut up. I hadn't finished. Is that what you're going to do every time something gets challenged that you say, Neil? Just chant through the middle of the response every single time, 9 times, until you get frustrated enough to leave? Is that where it's going to go?
Learned it from you.
Yeah, I'm justified when I interrupt, Neil.
That's what I'm saying. I'm justified. You only. Why are you asking me about the plumbing?
Because I've got a fundamentalist religious belief that plumbing's always important, regardless of what you tell me. Tell me again that it's got nothing to do with plumbing, so I can tell you how it's absolutely got everything to do with plumbing 5 more times. Now, coincidentally, there are certain people who are out there designed to teach about flooring that have been educated in both plumbing and flooring because they understand that there's a lot of people out there that always think it's everything to do with plumbing, and they're wrong. But you need to understand the plumbing so you can explain how it's not all about plumbing to that person that will always introduce plumbing to the argument, and the interruption comes for the second time. I just can't communicate with you, Neil. It's useless.
Hey, Neil, do you remember when QE told Nathan it's easier to fill a cup that's not already full? It's easier to fill an empty cup.
Hold on.
You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. Can you hear me?
No, you're breaking up and constantly interrupting every time I try and challenge anything you tell me. Great.
Well, let me just say what I was going to say. The empty cup is easier to fill. To know is easier to fill. But if you get there and there's already something in the cup, you have to dump it out and then fill it with, right? We're not walking up to empty cups.
Yeah, Neil's perfect case scenario is you walk up to the canvas, it's completely blank, and you draw an angle on it. Go, there you go. There's nothing else involved. There's just this angle. It's on a flat plane. There it is. Do you understand? And your idea of the canvas is the empty void of a brain that is the person you're communicating it with. So in that scenario, there's nothing outside of that angle measurement off a flat plane. That's all that's on the canvas. I've just drawn it for you. What's the problem? Scenario 2. You walk up to the canvas, and not only does it already have a picture of a heliocentric model on it, the detail is outstanding. And not only is the detail outstanding, that canvas is owned by a man standing right next to it. And you go, excuse me, you mind if I just wipe this over entirely with white paint and draw an angle on it so I can explain that to you? Everyone's biased. It's like trying to convert Scientologists rather than explaining to the public why Scientology is wrong. The public, generally speaking, would understand your arguments for why Scientology is wrong. The guy in Scientology won't. The standards you need to reach are higher. When he presents his argument for whatever position he's taking in Scientology and you don't understand it, and it's part of a fallacious reasoning he's used for his entire Scientology career to justify his faith, and you don't understand the fallacious reasoning employed within his example, he just thinks he's won. You haven't overcome his argument. Why did you bother engaging with the Scientology discussion? Well, because if I just talk to a normal, reasonable person, I can undo those arguments really easily. I've got loads of silver bullets. But they don't work on the zombies within the Scientology community, do they? They just ignore you. They just repeat their claim. And you don't even understand their claim, and often they just tell you that you don't understand.
Is it fair to say the whole conversation I'm going back?
Is agreed?
Oh.
Go ahead, DALA.
I just wanted to say I'm going back and forth the whole time between siding with your side and then with Neil again, because my fundamental is I'm sort of like 80%. Well, no, that's too high. 70% with Neil, because if we're talking about the nature of our reality, right, and the topic at hand is the aspect or shape of what we're standing on. If their reality or their argument is that we're standing on a sphere or geoid or ellipsoid, whatever they want to call it, right? And I'm saying I have a measurement of it being flat. No matter what they're bringing to the table, the measurement is flat. But on the other hand, I do understand after being in this for 7 years, right? I do understand that knowing a bit about the model, I can spot where they're trying to take me to another place. And like I said, nope, you're trying to take me to another place. Stop that. This is where we're at, beyond what we're standing on. So that's my comment.
Yeah, and I've been here 7 years as well, maybe longer. But I'm still saying, once you demonstrate it's flat, I don't care what they say.
Good. Go about your day. Go about your business.
Measured flat.
Don't become a flat Earth teacher. You've understood the lessons. Good.
Measured flat. All you need to know are measurements.
Right, I'm going to round out. With that, another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit me up on Ko-Fi and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.